Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 124, and it is a combination of films that I'm very, very excited about. First one is Singing in the Rain from 1952, and that is directed by Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly, and of course starring the amazing Gene Kelly. And paired it with a movie called Babylon, which a lot of people never got around to seeing, which, of course, as you guys know, is the theme of this podcast, movies that you never got around to seeing, and now you don't have to because we'll just tell you all about it. But yeah, Babylon came out in 2022, was a complete bomb, and somehow just kind of missed, and it's actually an incredible film. It's directed by Damien Chazelle, and starring Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, and I can't tell you how incredible this film is. It is hard to watch, so just a little precaution when you decide to watch it or not, but it is really, really good, and I was really amazed by it. By the way, I wanted to say hi to my Uber driver who I was driving with. I'm my very hoarse, as you can tell, because I've been at SIGGRAPH for the last few days, and it has been rough on me. But I want to say hi to my Uber driver, Landon, who was listening to film podcasts on our drive back to my house, and I told him, hey, check out Martini Giant. So if you get to check this out, thanks a lot, Lauren. And of course, if people are new to the podcast, I want to make sure that people know where they can find us. We are, of course, available anywhere, but we also do have a YouTube, and that is youtube.com/@MartiniGiant. And we also, if you go to any of our links on YouTube or this episode, you will see a bunch of links in there, including our Discord. Love to have you on our Discord and our Patreon. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, we'd appreciate that as well. But another announcement I want to make is that this Saturday, we will not be having a podcast recording because I'm going to go on a short vacation, which I definitely need after SIGGRAPH. So we won't be having a podcast at that point. But for now, please enjoy Singing in the Rain and Babylon.
We can go into it more at another
on the show, on an actual show.
Maybe
we should do a podcast with it.
We do a podcast about movies. When we do a podcast about movies. In fact,
we could.
I cannot tell you how excited I am to talk about this because I've been trying to find a way to do Singing in the Rain for a long time.
That's one of my all-time favorites.
And when I saw Babylon on the airplane, can you imagine seeing this on Lufthansa?
Well, it's Lufthansa.
That is like watching that with anyone else around is definitely a wild ride.
And I saw it as like, we got to do this.
Right.
I'll explain to you about how that Lufthansa experience was. But these movies are, here's the thing. No one has seen Babylon. Some people don't even know that movie existed. Most people don't.
It disappeared 100% from the public consciousness.
Right.
It's wild.
And it's a wild and amazing movie.
Yep.
And when I saw this, I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to see this. And then I was like, why have I not seen this? And then I was like, oh, we got to do it. This is the perfect Singing in the Rain movie.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
for very direct reasons. Yes.
Direct reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, it is Singing in the Rain. It is the same movie.
It's identical.
Yeah.
It's identical. It's very true. It's very true.
Which I think is wonderful and well done. My curiosity. Okay, so real quick, Eric, did you... I think we're going to start with that Babylon and then explain Singing in the Rain. But I think both of these movies are movies that people probably never got around to seeing or didn't even know existed. And this is ones we can explain and why we love about it. But tell me about you watching Babylon. What was your take on it? Like, how did you feel about it?
I really liked it. I did. I love that period of time. I love Hollywood at that period. I thought, I felt like there was a little bit of a conflict I felt like part of it, and this is just the vision, the look of it and the feel of getting into it, like half of it was really wonderful, or 3/4.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like some of the stuff, I felt like it was a Fincher movie with dance sequences by Baz Luhrmann.
Right.
And
Right.
once you get inside that and you're at the Ace Hotel where they shot some of that, and the dancing and the posing kind of, it was great. I love the party scenes. I wish I was there, but I just was like, it was Baz Luhrmann and it was very fake. I thought the costumes were a little show, Baz Luhrmann, which is great, but it conflicted with the kind of main, the protagonist kind of journey and her journey. And it kind of took away from that because I know maybe they're saying half of it is real and it's not, but it should all be scary. Like when they go into that dungeon and the guy's eating the snakes or whatever, right? The rats. And that was the part I loved because that's the underbelly. Mm-hmm. And they're still in the underbelly at the house, but it was too glitzy.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I felt like, that was a lost opportunity. It was too perfect and it was almost like somebody told you a story and they told somebody else a story about what that party was like. So there was a lot of gap filling, whereas the rest of it seemed real. And I love the flea and all those characters, but I just felt like I didn't get to grip the characters enough. I love Brad Pitt. I wish there was more of. I thought the ending for Brad Pitt was great.
Is Brad Pitt your favorite actor? He's now with this. He is my favorite actor.
I'm up there with saying that he is one of my favorite actors of all time.
This may have pushed him over the top.
I still am Robert Downey. It's since the 80s. I think he's just great.
With have you seen Oppenheimer? We talked Oppenheimer.
No, he's there. Okay. I know. I want to see it.
It's so nice to see him do something rich again.
I don't know. I think amazing. Ryan Gosling is up there as well as.
He's great.
Oh, he's terrific.
And who's I keep name blanking. The guy from Moon.
Oh, Sam Rockwell. He's certainly one of the great character actors of all time.
He's one of the great character actors of all time.
Yeah. In terms of like,
I'm not
big
trying to
movie stars,
gloss
Brad Pitt's
over and be stupid about it. I felt like there was some missed opportunities, I guess, for the film, but I liked it a lot. And I love those type of films. I just was like, it's too bad. And I felt maybe Margot Robbie wasn't the best for it.
Interesting.
What was your take, Daniel?
My feelings on this movie have not yet settled. I finished it only very shortly ago. Mm-hmm. It is, how can I say this? I think I'm going to end up loving it.
It's a good film.
It is one of the most unpleasant films I've seen from a popular director in my entire life. Like it's so radically unpleasant all the time, and more so as the movie goes on. I was like, how did he fucking get this made? This is wild.
Like Brad Pitt. Get it made from Brad Pitt.
I think you're right. And Brad Pitt is, I've always said, like Brad Pitt is one of the great, not only one of the great movie stars, but he's one of the great producers of all time.
Oh yes. Did he produce Section 8 or whatever?
I believe he produced this. If he's involved, he's producing. But his character is very much his, like what he says as his character in this movie is very much what he believes. Like, this stuff is art. Like we should engage it as art. Like Hollywood movie making is
there's
art.
There's so many golden statements that are being made in this thing constantly.
100%. And so like there's from the opening sequence, there's stuff so to sum it up, I don't know who I can recommend this movie to because I absolutely understand why it not only bombed, but people basically erased it because it is graphically unpleasant with horrible, cruel, terrible, unlikable characters constantly, and it only gets
I didn't
worse.
think it was that graphic.
I didn't think so.
For a Hollywood film, for a big Hollywood fun
I thought the
film.
Sex scenes were a little contrived, you know?
It's fine.
But
like
the tone, I wish there was more grittiness to the sex scenes.
The overwhelming tone of the movie is intentionally at odds with itself, right?
I think that if this movie was made in the 90s, it would have been a huge hit.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that the movie is sort of
huge
weirdly
hit.
I think that it's and none of this I'm saying, all this stuff I'm saying.
If this was made in the 70s,
without a doubt. Yeah.
This is cruising.
This is closer to the movies I would put this in the neighborhood of are like you brought.
Gooch would have made this.
You brought the Day of the Locust before, right?
Yes.
Also, what's the movie with Raquel Welch, the one that everyone hates? Where it's super sex oriented. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yes, Mrs.
Yeah, you got it. I can't think of the name, but that's the one. Yeah, Myra Breckenridge. Right?
Myra Breckenridge.
I put it up there with that. I put it up there with recently a movie that I absolutely loved and nobody has seen called Under the Silver Lake.
Ooh, I got to see that.
It's fucking incredible. That's a great
What's that
movie.
about?
It's about Hollywood. It's about Los Angeles, and it's about it's a neo noir. It's a surreal neo noir with Andrew Garfield, and it's a little David Lynchy. It's like David Lynch doing The Big Sleep, and it's extremely good. It's wild movie, and beautiful and brilliant. But nobody Under the Silver Lake, and they. But I
saw the trailers to Babylon, and it didn't make any sense.
Well, it's when I'm looking at it now, I'm like, it was pretty honest about like how, like this is if you like movies about lots of fucking jerks doing shitloads of cocaine and screaming at each other, this is the movie for you. Like that's what the movie is.
Yeah, it's a little Goodfellas.
It's like and like
a little Casino.
Goodfellas feels like Steel Magnolias compared to the flavor of this movie to me. Like Goodfellas is fun. This is at times, especially in the first third, is so exhilarating fun that it blew my mind. Like I just cried from how exhilarating it was when they're just shooting like 20 movies at once in that one sequence. Right. Yeah. It's so flawlessly done. It's insane, and it was incredibly moving. And that happened multiple times.
Which they do in Singing in the Rain too.
Which they also do in Singing in the Rain. It's a scene is direct. Oh, there's scene to scene comparisons all over the place in this movie. Right. But the point of the movie is the most Damien Chazelle, the director, the most Damien Chazelle point he could have made, right? Because it is identical to all of his other movies. He talks about the same thing. And I love it. Like Whiplash, La La Land, First Man, all this stuff. It is about the horror of and incredible difficulty of what you do versus your incredible love for it, right? And there is the movie, and this doesn't give anything away, but it's like you see basically a cross section of the worst of Hollywood for 3 straight hours, almost exclusively through 2 lenses, like through Margot Robbie's lens and through Diego, I can't remember his name's lens. New actor who I like very much.
He's like a Javier Bardem as a young man.
Terrific. The guy's
he is
great.
Really good in this film.
Yes, terrific.
Man, is he a great actor.
And I like he was a massive discovery for this movie. I loved him. I thought he was great.
Yeah. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah,
he's so good.
Absolutely terrific. And he really kept me in the movie the whole time.
That's the thing.
And the sum
well,
of
he is the glue of the movie. He's the glue of the movie. He's the glue of the story. And he's the glue of the story. People.
But I feel like certain things were, certain things took you out of that because certain things weren't as tight as I thought. You know, just some of the stuff like I said, the party stuff, it just became almost like a spectacle.
Yeah, I feel
like it took away from his journey. And I was like, God, I mean, the parties aren't like, hey, do, and they're dancing naked and scrap it. It's like, no, it's not, they're doing blow and screwing. And
this is
it's a little grittier. It's a little grittier.
Like the movie, I think, is doing its very best to try to push you away the entire time. Because if you're to take 2 things from the movie, the movie is about this versus this. It is about paying a giant monster of a person to eat live rats in a cellar with fake money. Is it worth doing that to end up with Singin' in the Rain? And the answer to the movie is providing is absolutely. It's Singin' in the Rain. It's the best movie ever made. Like that's basically what the movie is saying.
Right.
Is it worth all of this horribleness? Is it worth it to end up with movies? And Chazelle definitely feels it is, but he doesn't back away from making it as fucking like these characters. They don't just make mistakes. Like they make the same mistake 50 fucking times, and it only gets worse and worse for them. Like that's right. Over and over and over and over and over again.
It feels. You guys keep mentioning different directors. To me, I think this feels Polanski.
It's way closer to Polanski. Yeah, I agree. It's a very
because Polanski had this feeling about. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, you saw Polanski. He gets undertone and under the bellies, and you get afraid of certain things and scenes, and there's a thickness like a fog, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like that. I'm sorry if I'm sounding stupid. That fog is gone in some scenes. He wouldn't have that issue. It would be a continuous kind of like stream through that at the end you'd be like, ugh. At the end, my thing is that I'm following our protagonist, and then it goes to these scenes which stylistically I feel didn't match the rest of the film. And then, okay, I'm back in. And then I'm in, and I love, oh, wait, no, it's just, it's a little contrived.
It's very jagged. It's very, right.
But Polanski would have the whole thing, and by the end of it, you're shot out of the tunnel like, holy Christ. And it takes days to think about it.
Because, like, I feel like the Polanski, I mean, the Polanski vibe is, like, and you guys have not seen the Ghost Rider. Like, the Ghost Rider is actually a great reference for this, because Ghost Rider is such
I worked on Ghost Rider. So did Chris.
Did you do the titles? The titles for Ghost Rider, right? Ghost Writer.
No,
not Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
With Nick Cage. And,
Yes. Yeah. Not that one. but Polanski is
Peter Fonda.
The Ghost
Can you imagine
Writer.
Peter Fonda was in Ghost Rider?
Sorry. My God.
Yeah,
well, it's called Paycheck.
There's if anyone wants to see, like I love this movie, The Ghost Rider, right? The Ghost Rider with Ewan McGregor by Roman Polanski, and there's almost nothing to the movie at all in terms of plot. It's so like vaporous, but it's all mood, And if you want to know what the Polanski mood is, that movie is like the purest form of that. It's not his best movie, but it's the most, like, if you were to separate out like the chemical that is Polanski, that movie is perfect for this. And if you were to add that flavor to this gigantic mess of a meal, then I agree with you, Eric. Like, that would make it almost flawless.
Yes.
I think that there's a lot going on in this film that's a little bit special to me. I think that there's so many characters. There are a lot of characters, and they all are strongly opinionated, right? Like the Chinese lesbian woman is amazing.
That's great.
Mei Wong. That's based on a real person.
Based on Mei Wong. Yeah, there's also a story based on Fatty Arbuckle in this. There's the sister.
The father who's just kind of terrible, and every one of those characters are. Yeah,
like there's just in terms of filmmaking itself, in any individual scene, Damien Chazelle is master of the camera. Like, now I agree that the scenes added up together can get kind of jumpy and jagged all over the place. I think it's a lot. It's a lot, and I think it's kind of on purpose. But in terms of, you just pick any scene in the movie, it's so well photographed and edited. It's amazing how skilled this guy is.
Right,
like he's just an incredible talent.
I like this movie more than La La Land. I'm just going to say it.
I hear you 100%. It's like, to me, it's kind of the same movie as La La Land. It's just
the same movie, but this is
a very harsh version.
This is the movie I wanted to see with La La Land.
La La Land is the very happy version of this, and this is the movie. This is the very angry version of this.
Yeah.
But but I totally agree. It is the same kind of statement, only it is the maximalist, most abrasive and intense and virtuosic is the word, I guess, version of that. Like, it is so, he's just like, I can do anything with this camera. I can do anything with these actors. We can make this work. And the energy behind that is phenomenal. Especially, man, that opening act, the first act of this movie, is so energizing and fun. It's out of this world. It's out of this world. If anyone sees this movie, like, I recommend it for the first third. You may or may not like the second two acts, but you will love the first act. I think the other two acts are just as good, but they are much, much less pleasant. The first one is on fire.
What's his name? The underground stuff was kind of like,
oh, it's insane, dude.
Awesome.
Yeah, like, so let's give an overview of what the story is.
Let's get an overview of it, because obviously, we probably represent about 50% of the entire audience have seen this movie. But I think, and then that other guy, that your YouTube
Toby
guy
McGuire?
who you like to listen to, keeps praising this movie, saying, you really should see Babylon. You should really see Babylon.
No, I'd watch it again. I liked it. I was a little, nothing's perfect.
I think all of your points are valid, but
It has a lot
maybe-
to do with whether these things are on purpose. I think
I'm
that's
ready
kind of
to
the
love
question.
movies again. So that's the
Yeah.
thing I think that's different for me, right? Like I just, like I said, we just came back from seeing Barbie, and I saw the trailer to some other fucking ridiculous Blue Beetle
Oh, that looks terrible.
bullshit.
Oh,
and then,
God.
and then
Beetle.
Gran Turismo film bullshit.
Yeah.
Like I'm done, and
What's
Blue Beetle is a superhero movie.
it's another superhero.
It looks
Oh.
absolutely terrible.
It
It looks worse than any superhero movie yet.
Yeah.
It was
makes
like,
Ant-Man look like Shakespeare.
it looked terrible.
yeah.
And did you get the Trolls ad as well that went on for
Yes.
6 hours?
That
It was
looks
like-
like it was written by an AI.
That's unbelievable, man. That's fucking
Yeah.
brutal.
Terrible. But so to me, it was exciting about it, right? So I'm ready to be excited about Barbie. I was excited about Babylon. And then it just made me, Babylon was exciting to me because it made me want to watch Singing in the Rain again. So, that was good.
And I will. This is a purely positive statement about Barbie. See Barbie in a theater because it looks great. The production design is incredible. That's a big movie to see. See it because you see it on a big screen. You'll love it. It's great. Music's great. Visuals are great.
And sharing that experience with my teenage daughter was
Probably
awesome.
great.
Oh, I
She
get it.
was so
Absolutely.
excited about it, right?
Yep.
So
Yep, absolutely.
that's why I would definitely go.
Yep,
see that.
100%. But
See that.
but and for the counter to that is I also saw Oppenheimer. I didn't see it in 70 millimeter.
But you and I are going to see it in 70 millimeter.
But we'll
next
see
week, right?
this week. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Oh, I'm jealous
that-
now.
That movie is overwhelming. Like that is definitely that's a movie. That's
All right.
that's a movie. So this is another movie.
So this is a movie, and it starts off with a very cool sort of feeling to it where you got that hot valley. It's supposed to be in the valley, right? It's supposed to be in,
Yeah.
right?
No, it says Bel Air.
Which is where? That's
That's
not
like-
Bel Air.
yeah, that's
Is it
like-
Bel Air like next
Yeah.
to Beverly Hills Bel Air?
Yeah.
Before it was overbuilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it
Yeah,
looks
that's
like
right.
it's in the
I
middle
thought
of the desert.
Because it looks like Bakersfield.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
it
a
looks like
book
that,
I
right.
have here by Tashin on Los Angeles.
Mhm.
It's such a great book, and it shows like, in the 20s. I'll share some stuff. It's crazy.
So Bel Air looked like that in the 1920s.
I thought it said Bel Air. Let
It
me
did
check
say
again.
Bel Air, but I
Yeah,
thought there's
I'm
another town
sure.
called Bel Air.
It certainly like it certainly feels appropriate to the movie, even if it's not accurate.
Right.
There you go.
Like,
But let's
It
just
is
put it this way.
exactly
It's
right.
technically Bel Air. Bel Air now is in the middle of Los Angeles, but in this movie, it looked like it's kind of in the desert.
Right.
It does,
Yeah.
but Bel Air. Yeah, dude, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I'll paste it for everybody. Oh, I can't do that. So anyway, I'll figure out a way.
Anyway.
It's pretty wild, and yeah, just go through this. I'm going to send a link to everybody.
Well, just put
But
it in
there's-
the Twitch so people can who are
Yeah,
watching.
Yeah, I'm
Twitch.
doing
That's
that.
All
If
right.
you have to scroll down, this is the Water and Power website, but they show Westwood. Holy moly! I knew Westwood was a ramp, a ranch.
Yep.
So it's on there. Literally 1922 aerial of Westwood. Crazy. Everybody go through this. That's literally 1924, 1920. Holy moly. There's Bel Air. Bel Air is almost halfway down. It says Bel Air. Look for it, guys.
Yeah.
And it's 1922 aerial view northeast showing undeveloped. So halfway down on this web, 3/4 of the way, a quarter way down. If anybody can see it.
Los Angeles. Hang on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty desolate.
Do you see that?
Yep. Yeah, I see it.
Right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
the aerial.
it's
Yeah,
pretty.
it's
that's
totally
wild. It's
exactly
pretty burnt
what
out,
that
yeah.
looked like.
Yeah.
Rich. So
That's crazy.
Nice job, Damien Chazelle.
Go through this site. This is amazing.
That's wild. Nice.
Look
Wow,
at Bel
That's a
Air.
great little bit. I didn't know this.
as Eric was saying, or Daniel was saying, it's like this feels like Bakersfield when we first see it, but it's
Mhm.
just a dirt road. And basically, it starts off with a guy in a big truck, big guy in a big truck, and he says he's there to pick up a horse. And he goes, "You mean an elephant?" I was like, "You mean a really big horse?" It's like, "No, there's an elephant. We have to take this elephant up, right?" So they're taking an elephant up to this hill to his mansion on this truck, and the truck can barely get up the hill, and they're trying to get it up there. And it's kind of this insane scene of like, what the hell is going on? And it turns out they're preparing for this at this mansion for a giant party that seems to happen every night. I think at this place.
Well, there's two scenes in the movie. There is working and partying. That's it. Like, that's it. There isn't any other scene.
Yeah.
There's a couple of scenes at people's homes, maybe, but they're
or running away.
Or running away. Exactly. It's mainly the actions that take place.
Yeah, it's either you're making a movie or you're in a party.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
But the party that gets started here is crazy, right? So as I said, the first time I saw this was on a Lufthansa flight. Lufthansa solved this by blurring a lot of the nudity on here.
Oh, yeah. God, half the screen must be blurry at some of the points.
Which was kind of a strange experience to see that. But there's a lot of nudity. It's fair warning.
Yeah, it's radical.
It's a radical crazy party from 20s where there's a lot of drugs and then people just doing a lot of drinking. Great music. That's another thing too. We should note that the music was 100%. Amazing.
Yep. It's beautiful. And I would say that there's a really interesting prescient aspect to this movie, because it is about how morals, like social morals, change on the turn of a dime.
Right.
And it changes how the business has to operate. And since the movie came out, or actually right almost as the movie came out, is when we have taken a very sharp moral shift towards, I wouldn't say prudery, but there's a lot of talk about why should there be sex scenes in movies and stuff like this.
Really?
Oh yeah, you go on the old film Twitter.
It's the worst.
Yeah. It's pretty, and this is not being made by little old ladies. This is made by people under 30, in their 20s.
Yeah.
It's a constant argument going on in film Twitter, and of course, it's film Twitter. It doesn't mean anything. It's garbage. But but it's interesting that this movie, which shows a lot of stuff, was instantly dismissed and buried. It's just like, oh, fuck it, gone. Never talk about it again, and they will never mention this movie ever again. As long as people are in the very post-code flavor that they're in right now, they do not want to see a movie like this. This is embarrassing.
True. They want to preach about their morality.
Yes.
Everyone wants to preach about morality.
Yes.
Everyone wants to preach about
everybody
their
has
version
a
of morality.
platform to
Yes.
talk.
Everyone's got an opinion right now.
Yeah,
Everyone's got a strong moral opinion.
No matter if they think it's right or not, they're just talking.
Yep. And I will say that that's true about myself too. It's a reactionary stance we're all in right now. So this is the danger of it, and this movie really lays that bare. It's because it's part of the plot of the movie is Margot Robbie's career changes when people are like, initially people are like, oh, she's set us free, like this is wonderful, and then they're like, oh, she's a sinner, and they close her down.
Right.
Like, yep, same person.
All right. So let's introduce. So as this craziness happens in this party, we're introduced to some very key important characters in this thing, right? The first one obviously is the Spanish guy. What's his name again?
I'm gonna look him up.
He was so good.
Yeah, well, I looked him up while Anne looked it up while we were watching it.
He looks like a young Javier Bardem.
Yeah, he is currently on Narcos Mexico on Netflix.
Okay.
So let's see. Hold on, 2022 movie.
Bet you he's getting 25-cent residual checks too.
He is Diego Calva, and he is known from he is also in Bird Box Barcelona, or Bird Box Barcelona.
There you go.
Right now, and
nice.
Yeah, he looks, and you see his
Javier
headshot.
Bardem.
That is a young Javier Bardem.
I watched it. I was like,
he is
Jesus,
handsome.
he's a good-looking dude. I was like,
Wow.
man, this guy is a young Bardem, and he has that same kind of gait. There's the way he just kind of looks to try to understand and comprehend something, and he's got just such a great.
I agree, man.
vibe.
Okay, so we should say who he is a little bit before. It's like he is helping out at a party, doing odd jobs, helping, whatever the host wants for the guests, like picking up an elephant, getting more drinks, buying more drugs, whatever it takes, right? He's definitely the low man on the totem pole kind of guy, right? So there's no confidence in him that much. It's more like, I'm here
Just
to
get it
help,
done.
right? So that's his character. The next character, another character we're introduced is Margot Robbie, who shows up at the party uninvited, is clearly a nobody, but wants to be somebody, and she's going in there full confidence.
Yeah, she crashes a car.
She crashes a car and arrives at the party dressed to the nines.
Yeah, saying she's somebody else, and she
pretends to be someone else. Like, I'm getting into this party, and
I thought she
by
was
the
like
way,
a
where's the
female.
cocaine?
She was like a young female version of Brad Pitt.
Sure,
There was something about her that I would just
she's got that
remind me.
energy. Sure, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she has all of this amazing, quality. And the first person she's introduced is to Diego, right? And so he is enamored by her immediately, and I think his name is Manny, right? His name is Manny, right? In the film. So she wants to
Manuel,
talk.
yeah, right. No, I'm looking at it right
Yeah, but everyone calls him Manny at the end. So they wants to talk to him. The next person we're introduced to, which was hilarious, is you introduced from behind, right, in the car. Car's driving.
Did we lose Dan?
No, he's still here.
Still there? I
Did you
can't
not
hear
hear him?
Eric. There, I got him back. He's back.
I'm
Yeah.
back.
I don't know
Okay.
what happened there.
So he, back in the car, you see a guy speaking Italian to this woman. The woman is like, stop speaking Italian. You're not Italian. And he's like, bah, blah, blah, blah. He keeps speaking Italian to her. And she's like, okay. And it's like, if you speak to me Italian one more time, I'm getting a divorce. And he's like, okay. And then goes, blah, 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 in Italian. And she's like, fuck you. And she leaves the car. It was really funny.
It's great. It's really great.
And you realize that this is Brad Pitt, right?
Right. And it is, what's her name? From Tron. Director. Can't think of her name.
Riley Keough? No.
No. She was the woman in Tron.
Tron Uprising. Yeah, she directed a very, very good movie that nobody saw called Booksmart, which I thought was hilarious.
Olivia
Wilde.
Not Tron. That's not Tron.
She's in Tron too.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Tron.
And and she's she's basically playing an Angelina Jolie analog in this. And so it's Brad Pitt married to someone who is very much like
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Screaming, I want a divorce. They're both actors that they both are in movies together.
Right.
Yeah, it's very funny. Very, very
and he
funny.
just pissed her off enough that he's like, fuck it.
Right.
I'll move on to the next one.
Right.
So then he goes into the party. Brad Pitt goes into the party. We realize it's obviously Brad Pitt. We all recognize him as Brad Pitt. So we're excited about it. But then when he walks into the party, everyone is excited about it because it's Brad Pitt or the name of the other actor. Right.
Right.
Is he like a Douglas Fairbanks kind of guy?
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
he's supposed to be he's a proxy for himself in this movie.
I know, but there was a Fairbanks quality to him, not Junior or maybe Junior.
Well, they do a nice job of having
Or
people
Robert Redford, not Robert. Who am I thinking of?
In that time, it was Fairbanks, and he was like the swashbuckler, loved kind of. There was a look
in the 20s. You're right,
Yeah,
but I'm thinking of what's his name? Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn guy.
Oh yeah,
Gable.
Clark Gable.
Sure, right. He's got aspects of both, right? He's got aspects of both.
Sure.
And so the movie's good at having these not direct representations of classic stars, but sort of
talk about Gable.
They do specifically talk about Gable. They specifically bring up some stars, but everyone who comes up is both fictional, but you're like, oh, she's this type and this type, and the fatty Arbuckle type, and all this kind of stuff. And you're just like it shows how much that Chazelle really knows about the period because he can vamp on it without getting in his own way, and he creates a very coherent world out of it, which is rarely done at this sort of level.
Right.
And it's really, really good.
So this is a 3-hour movie, and there's a lot that goes on. So I'm going to sort of skip through it. But you're basically introduced to these 3 characters, right? She's a wannabe actress. He is, a gopher, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then Brad Pitt is Brad Pitt,
leading
right?
man, yeah, star.
And so he's very. You also realize he's very affable and charming. Charming. Not an asshole at all.
Right. And he wants, even in the opening scene when he talks to the waitstaff there,
right?
Like he wants to be in touch with
everyone,
real feeling and actual,
right?
Like he is searching for something authentic, artistically authentic, and an authentic vibe from people all the time,
right?
And so like he's sort of hovering through the party because he knows it's all nonsense, but he's hoping to find something deeper in there. Yeah. Really great. I love Pitt in this movie. I thought Pitt was, he was using his charms at maximum. The specific scene you're talking about is that he's sitting down to have, at a table, and while he's sitting down there, everyone is accosting. Oh my God, I love you! I got a tattoo of you on my back. Like this woman literally got a tattoo of him on his back, and he's like, "Oh, that's nice," and whatever. And then he sits down, and then this waitress comes up to him, asks him what he wants, but leans over and shoves her cleavage in his face. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he tells her, like, you didn't need to do that to get my attention. You already had it, or something like that. Like some
exactly
way of, and it was kind of a weird, like nice thing to say, but also strange thing to say. There's other random characters you meet here. The big fat guy who overdoses the girl while he's having sex with her, which seems to me almost exactly like the scene from Boogie Nights.
Yes.
There's a lot of Boogie Nights flavor to this movie. I was
Yes.
going to bring this up. Yeah, there's a Boogie Nightsness to it for sure. And I think he's directly referencing Boogie Nights in some of this stuff.
The big things that we notice: one, famous actor, obviously a little bit lonely, gets lots of attention. Like gets lots of attention and is lonely at the same time. Kind of interesting. Margot Robbie hangs out with Diego quite a bit. They both talk about how much they want to work on a movie set. Like they want to be on a movie set. That's what would get them really, really excited. Right. And so that's what happens. So what happens coincidentally is the girl overdosed cocaine, as we mentioned. So they escort her, like try to sneak her out of the party. And they say, she was supposed to be on set at 8:00 tomorrow for the movie. Crap. We'll just get her. They point to Margot Robbie's like, be on set in 3 hours. And she's like, yay, I get to be on set. Right. So that's her break. It's just, she happened to be at the right place at the right time.
That's it.
Sorry.
But so much of that is what really happened. There's one of my favorite film books is Who the
Hollywood
Devil Made
Peplum?
It, which I have right here. And you read those early stories of the 20s. I mean,
Oh, it's insane.
it's insane.
That's how it happened, right? It was people
It's
just
crazy.
yeah.
It's totally
But
crazy.
also, even for directors, this is the book. I don't think it's available anymore. Bogdanovich. Highly recommend it. I think it's
And
the
hear
greatest-
ya.
I think it's the greatest film book ever made, and it's called Who the Devil Made It.
Yeah.
And it is astonishing, and it's all the directors that Aldrich, Cooker, Dwan, Hawks, Siegel, Lumet, Hitchcock, Chuck Jones even. There are times in the 20s when they started where, I'm telling a quick story, a guy would walk into a bar and be like, hey, I'd love to work with you. This is a director. It's like, you know what? I actually am slated to direct 2 pictures starting Monday. If I give you the script, will you drive out to the desert and shoot for me? I'll just tell the studio you can do it. They're like, okay. And he goes in Monday and he shoots. He directs a film. He reads the script
I
on a
hate to
Saturday
say
night.
it, but that actually happens now. Still.
Well, some of my
Not
favorite.
to this, like,
Yeah, fuck it. Here you go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Well, in the visual effects industry, it happened. Like people like, I know a guy.
no.
Yep.
I'm saying this is directing a film.
I
And
know.
the guy gives him the script there. He just calls his buddy at the studio and
Shows
says
up on Monday and does it.
he shoots the film. And there was a story of where the studio brought this guy from Yale, a writer, and he was going to write the script. And so the guy's like, I need time to write the script. And then the studio's like, we need to make it right now. So they go out, they shoot it, and it was actually John Ford, and they shoot it in a week or 2 weeks. And they come back, and then the Yale writer brings the script to him, leather bound. He's like, oh, great. And he just puts it in his drawer.
Yeah, done. That's fine.
I highly recommend this book, and I think there's reprints. The stories are wild. And if you had this kind of world where everyone just comes out to reinvent themselves, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's really something. And I think that it's pulling, I bet Chazelle is, I'm sure Chazelle has read that book right there. And Bogdanovich has to have, right? And I'm sure he's also pulling a little bit from Hollywood Babylon.
Oh, and the director just died. The creator just died.
Yeah, the creator just died, which is like a pseudo-fictional stuff, but it's like the intensity of the stuff is just the same. It's really fun.
All right. So the thing also happens is basically Brad Pitt tells Manny or Manuel, he's like, yeah, come on set tomorrow. Because he drives him home, right? He drives him home because he's too drunk to drive. And he's like, come on set tomorrow. He's like, oh my God, I get to be on set. So he get to help out on set. Now, the cool thing is, this is exactly almost like you said, another mirror scene of Singing in the Rain. But it's also clearly like what Eric was saying. It's like they're shooting 20 movies at once.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're all silent movies, which is an important part of this. So they're just whatever. They have a small stage, just start shooting. Right. And the studio is just an outdoor dirt lot.
Yeah, it looks like a fucking smash up derby running around like a bunch of community plays. Like it's just craziness.
Right.
Like guys on horses riding around stabbing each other. Like they're filming
Whatever's
this giant
going
action
on.
scene.
Yeah.
Who knows? Just bananas. And in the center of it, they have like 6 stages and 12 things being shot, and everyone's like
and there's an identical scene in Singing in the Rain as well.
Exactly.
Which has also some pretty racist blackface stuff.
The classic, the jungle bit. Yeah. Right.
And
which they did something about this in the movie as well, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, there's some brilliant stuff in this movie.
Yeah,
I think that it's like like this movie is it's almost fair to say that this is beyond just referencing Singing in the Rain. This is like making a fictional prequel to Singing in the Rain. It's essentially saying, imagine if everything that was in Singing in the Rain actually happened, and then made Singing in the Rain because of it.
Which is what they show.
Which is literally like they don't literally say that that's like, true, but they almost literally say that that's
what
true.
What they're saying is, how do you think they came up with the story of Singing in the Rain?
This
probably because of this stuff.
Exactly.
Right?
It's so I mean,
like, they're not trying to lie. That they are saying that this shit happened for sure. Like your favorite, sweetest movie in the world. This is the fucking crazy kind of bullshit.
This is the real story behind it, and then all the sweet kind of jokey stuff in Singing in the Rain.
Sunset in Camden. Yeah, all that shit.
Yeah, all the cocaine behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's the song from Singing in the Rain with good morning, good morning. Right? like all you have to do is like one shot of something going like this, and then good morning, good morning. Like that's basically what the movie's doing.
Yeah.
So it's a So like they're showing all this crazy stuff happening, and Diego, Diego is the actor. Manny is swiftly given the job. Like Manny is swiftly given the job to deal with a bunch of striking extras. Yeah. Like and Brad Pitt's
like he's great at this.
No, Manny will take care of it. Don't worry about it. Manny, just tell these guys.
Watch out, these guys are kind of dangerous. They all live on Skid Row.
A bunch of homeless guys from Skid Row. The bunch of them have knives. Good luck. And he turns around and he's just like, okay, so you guys, you're being paid for fair days. And the crowd flips out. They start chasing him down, gonna murder him. And Brad Pitt's like, he's got it under control. It's fine.
Man, he's great at this. Look, he's great.
Great.
He's great. And he's like, gets on a horse and starts shooting, like he's rounding up cattle.
Get back to work, you assholes.
That's right.
It's hysterical. And all this is happening in the background while they're also trying to shoot Brad Pitt in a movie.
This sequence was my favorite.
This is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And there's such craziness going on. And so the Margot Robbie's, there's these 3 stories going on, which is fabulous. So Margot Robbie shows up and she's supposed to be in some Western Damon distress bar fight situation, right? Directed by a woman, which is also interesting here, right?
Incidentally, that is Damien Chazelle's wife playing that role.
Wow.
And I think she is fucking hysterical in
She's
this role.
She's really funny in this movie. She is so funny.
Her timing is flawless.
What happened to her? You're supposed to give me the tits.
Yeah. What happened to the tits?
What happened to the tits?
God.
No tits. No tits. No tits.
No tits. So fucking
the
funny.
way they say that. No tits. No tits. No tits. Yes. They start yelling. It's like they ordered it up like a Big Mac. You know?
It's so good.
No pickles on that burger, please.
And like as it also comes up later there as sort of a gag, like when she is shooting Margot Robbie in this sequence, like and she gets into a kind of a conflict or starts a conflict with the main actress who is the star of the movie, right? Like the director, the main actress is just like, don't you have any notes for me? And there's a shot, and I don't know if I can simulate this online here, but there's a shot, the director is like walking off the set really fast, and she like goes, what? And turns and hits her mark so cleanly, I thought it was an edit. I was like, whoa. Like I was just like, it's one of these moments where I'm just like, how did she hit that edge of the frame so cleanly as if she weren't moving 20 miles an hour and then just stopped perfectly? And then they make a fucking scene out of trying to do exactly that later on.
Yes, they do.
It's like, mwah. Yeah. That's hysterical. That is hysterical. Brilliant stuff.
So basically she's supposed to be the secondary character, and because it's Margot Robbie and her character is wild, crazy, she goes on the sexiness to the next level, where all the other actors on set are going like crazy town, you know?
like she's like doing all this incredibly sexy stuff and all the other actors are like just going with it. Right. And the director is just like, and the director loves this. She's capturing all of this stuff.
She's like, and this is like, we can see your erections. Like, just tuck it in. Tuck it in.
Good. And so she keeps on asking Robbie to redo the scene just with little extra tighter, better bits of stuff.
Well, we should put it like, she realizes that she has way more potential with this that she's not tapping into. So she keeps exploring that potential.
Yes, it keeps digging. The director's super excited to be working with her, even though 10 minutes ago she was pissed that she had to handle her.
Right. And then so now it's like, oh no, okay, do this. Okay, now I want you to just like, okay, cry. You want 1 tear or 2 tears?
Oh my God.
Hold it back once. Okay. Tier 1, laugh, then tier 2.
It's miraculous. You got it. Oh my God.
And she's like, this is amazing.
But that's very Dirk Diggler.
Yes.
Like, I can go again.
She's the superstar.
Right. You're right. It is
the superstar. Sure. Absolutely. And the thing is, man, like this movie is absolutely free with its references. I think it's just like, I love Boogie Nights. I'm going to do Boogie Nights, you know, and because he's also like, he's just throwing shit out there. Like when Brad Pitt is walking up the hill with all the other actors in tow, like he just throws in this shot from The Seventh Seal. It's death. Leading all the dancers. Right. I was just like, he's just like, fuck it, throw it in. I don't give a shit, you know. And then he starts referencing himself where there's bits of music from La La Land in this movie.
I was going to mention that as well. It's like there is literally a theme song in this thing that keeps reoccurring, the same as it does in La La Land, to the point where I had to go back to listen to La La Land to make sure he wasn't using the same music. He's not.
But
it feels insane. Like it's the same music.
Yeah, it's really brilliant. So like it's a little bit of the making of La La Land. I think like I think what he is kind of saying is La La Land is Singin' in the Rain, and he is telling you the backstory of how fucking crazy it is to actually make a movie in Hollywood today. Like maybe. you think maybe. That this stuff isn't happening? Yeah. There's more drugs. It's worse. Yeah. It's just much better hidden. Much better hidden.
Well, it was interesting because I spoke to someone who you guys know was talking about the Cannes Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, it's different now a little bit. It was very different when Harvey was here.
Yeah, no doubt. Right.
And she goes, sometimes definitely for the better, but sometimes not as much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can say like, it's like when, like Digital Domain circa 2006.
Right.
Different place.
Yeah.
That was digital. If you did a VFX version of Babylon, it would take place. And
just wiping the cocaine off the Wacom tablets is what you were doing.
Yeah, it's insanity. You think it's like, you think it's not happening today. It was completely happening today. 100%. You know, but yeah, it's amazing how intensely he, grabs this stuff and just throws it in there, throws it in the lens, and just makes it part of this giant parade of shit that's happening. It's incredible. It's incredible.
So her breakthrough is she's going through the whole thing. That's awesome. Right. The studio executive is played by what's the name? Green. James Green. I always get his first name. I'm always Jeff Green, who is mostly known as being
He's a comedian.
He is a comedian. He's mostly known as being the manager on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right.
He's also very funny. Apparently, people have been. Anyway, there's been some issues with him on set, and there's all people trying to cancel him. But apparently, he has some bipolar issues or something like that that he's been managing. So like he's trying to do that, and it affects his work, as you can imagine. But I've always thought he was fascinating. He's a fantastic stand-up comedian, by the way. He is at Flappers all the time. I love him. But I think it's funny that he's playing the studio executive as well, because he was pretty funny. But literally one of the sets next to them goes up in flames, and she says, keep shooting.
Well, a lot of people died during that time.
Yeah.
Someone
dies on set.
Yeah, it's not like he gets speared through the chest.
Someone speared through the chest, and Darren Lyon's like, he had a drinking problem.
It's my favorite. She goes, well, he had a drinking problem. And then there's this long pause, and he goes, it's a disease, It cuts. It's just, that's, oh my God, dying laughing.
Right. So obviously there's a bunch of other movies going on. The other one, big epic movie, right? Where it's a huge crowd of warriors coming down the hill that they're filming, right? With a big German director who's like, get it. And they have like, Schnell. And there's craziness happening from all the extras that are all in costume.
That's Day of the Locust right there.
That's Day of the Locust, exactly.
And then you see this insanity, and it's like break for lunch, and then it's like, and they're just eating the schlop,
Yep. So fucking good, dude. It's good. Like this.
It's always, but it's like even back then, it's like Hollywood is like this, not bellwether, but it's like of morality. Like everything is judged by that, even Day of the Locust.
Because it's all bullshit. Moralism is bullshit, and that's what this shows. It's just like, this is just people, like, we demand this, singing in the rain, la 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 la. And if you saw how the fucking sausage was made, where are your morals then?
Well, it's all a lie too, because even in the very beginning, he's like, we came from, I studied theater, and then you just see him hustling with his friend. It's all a lie from the very beginning in Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, it's a put on, and like everything is about how we perceive ourselves through the lens of big stars. And if if a big star does something that makes you look bad for liking them, then you must shame them and cut them out of existence. That's what canceling is. It has nothing to do with you actually acting morally. It has to do with how you decorate yourself morally, and that's what is happening in the film.
Right.
Like it has nothing to do with being good. It's just appearing good. And that's these characters.
But it's kind of hilarious to pair that with the party, right? They go crazy in the party. They do stuff that you really shouldn't do. And you're like, and they do exactly the same thing on set, which is also
exactly. It's the same. It's just a big party. The whole thing's a giant, ridiculous, deadly party.
Right.
And you eventually the party runs out. Like, that's the story.
So
yes, it does.
So the big thing that happens at the battles, all of that craziness. Manny's trying to get shit to work. But because of all the insane battles that they lost all their cameras, they broke all the cameras. And
How
the German
similar
guy,
was that? When I used to PA in New York, it's the same thing.
Yep.
You go to Kodak and all these places or Panavision to pick up stuff, and it's like, oh, you got to wait.
And they're joking about high tech nonsense, just like,
And
is
the
that
same
the 29 or the
dickhead
28?
behind the counter.
He wants to know
You know,
about the
right?
28. You're like,
The same dickhead behind the counter.
yep.
Like,
Yep.
oh, just give me the film.
Just give me the fucking thing. I mean, you feel like you, Steve Buscemi and Fargo saying, like, you're at the gate saying, you're the master of your own fucking little domain. Here's your $3.
well,
The frustration
let's
is huge.
explain where that was before, because I think we skipped several steps that are not going to make any sense.
Let's skip steps.
No,
Welcome
because
back
what
to
happened
the
is they
ADD
lost all the
Film
cameras and they
Podcast.
basically need to get one extra camera. Manny volunteers to go get the camera, races down there. It's like, tell him we sent you. He goes to the counter and the guy at the counter says, what do you need? He's like, I need this camera. He's like, do you need the
This model or that model?
1225 or the 1228? And it's like, is there a difference? He goes, he wants to know if there's a difference and laugh about it, which is, you're right. That's the joke about it, because we've done that in visual effects world as well. So like,
Yeah.
he wants to know
like,
if there's a difference between ACES CG and regular ACES.
it'll be back in half an hour.
Yeah.
An hour and a half later.
An hour and a half later, shows up, and the camera finally shows up. Manny takes the camera, figures out how he's going to get through traffic, steals an ambulance, uses the ambulance to bring the camera up right as the magic hour is starting to go away.
And Manny is a hero.
I'm losing light. And Manny is a hero. The German guy says, you saved my movie. And everyone is like at this beautiful, and they do this really great thing where they get the beautiful shot of Brad Pitt kissing in the sunset, and everyone's like, oh.
Explosions going off in the background. It's
Everything
amazing,
is
right?
perfect.
It's magical
Right.
shit. Yeah, it's incredible.
And so this is how we're introduced to basically Manny and Margot Ruby being introduced into the film industry.
Right.
She takes off and is known as the Wild Child, right?
And
Well,
talk about
John.
film references. Chazelle puts in the entire scene from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood of her going to see her own movie.
Right.
It's this, and like, I'm just like,
It's exactly the same.
it's exactly the same scene with exactly the same actor.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, that's incredible. That's incredible. Like, you're just like, oh, I love that scene. Let's do that scene.
Let's do that. I mean, it's fine. I think this is great. These are all tributes.
Oh, it's brilliant. I think it's
Right.
perfect. It's a movie made up of movies. That's what the joke is.
Well, that's about movies.
And that's about movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's doing all that. It's not like he doesn't know that he's putting Margot Robbie in this.
I
Like
think
Margot
I know
Robbie's gonna be
he's-
like, I think I shot this scene before.
It's like, yeah, can you do me a
Very much
favor
on
and take your
purpose.
shoes off and put them up on there?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, so like she becomes a superstar off of this, like because the Wild Child is so sexy and audiences love it.
Love it, right?
You know, and
Manny starts to work more and more on set and starts to help out more on set and starts to
And
become
getting more opportunities.
more
more
opportunities. You get introduced to the Vera,
Flea?
what's her name
I
character?
thought Flea was great.
Flea was hysterical. Great role for Flea. But the one who's writing the cue cards is the woman who was singing, right? So who becomes the Margot Robbie's love interest later
Right.
on.
So she
Yeah.
she is yes, I forgot to talk about her, and that's behind you right now. She is a Chinese woman who is lesbian and embraces her lesbianism very much so, which was
This is
very
her. I put her into the chat.
yeah,
There we go.
She was awesome.
and based on a real character.
Yeah, and so like so you see that she is actually the one who's essentially the writer for the movies that Robbie is in. She writes the inter cards, you know.
Right.
So all these characters, so like they pop up and then sort of you see how closely knit the film world really is and how people's lives keep on crossing over each other. And so like you're like it's a very, I mean, you know, all of us having worked on this kind of stuff, like it's an extremely small world. Like, and I think
Right.
they capture that very, very well. Like you keep on seeing the same people and characters going through the background all the time because
Yep.
that's what it seems like when you're working in the industry.
Right. And so as this happens, then their lives start to go downhill.
Yes.
And most of that happens with the introduction of sound.
Yes. Singing in the Rain. Exactly.
Singing in the Rain, which is
Right.
exactly what that's about, right? So when The Jazz Singer comes out, which is the first film to have that, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's a hit," then they say, "Oh no, we gotta respond." And then of course this introduces a ton of problems.
Right.
Right.
And you get this, and you also get introduced to another new character, because Manny is slowly rising up the ranks of film production, and he becomes friends with one of the jazz band players that shows up in these movies. And when they start to actually record Singing in the Rain, with all
not the actual movie Singing in the Rain.
Yes, the song Singing
The
in the
song
Rain for
Singing in the
another
Rain.
different musical.
Right.
Right. And
I love Brad Pitt's is like, I just go up there and sing.
That's what's happening. Right.
Where's the action? Right.
And it's like this boring shot of a bunch of people in raincoats, like standing and singing the song Singing in the Rain.
Right.
Manny turns to the one of the jazz players, like, "What do you think?" He's like, "I think you got the camera pointed the wrong way."
Right.
And and it introduces it
a
shows
new genre of film,
a whole new genre of film,
which is musicals.
which is essentially musicals.
Yeah.
And also and introduces this whole concept that isn't covered in Singing in the Rain, which is how you have whole other sections of audiences are being identified. Like you have films for the Negro audience, they would say,
For the Negro audience,
and
right.
so
They
you
said
have
it's a Negro film, which is obviously the term that they used back then, right?
right. And so but those things, because of how fucked up America was at the time, like those could only be shown in certain places, and you couldn't have you couldn't have a mixed cast. You have an entirely black cast. You couldn't have a white person in there, and that causes trouble all by itself as they're going through
Right.
production.
And in fact, it comes up, and this is a very disturbing scene. It comes up where he's now the black trumpet player is a big star, and he's a star in the movie, and then they have the shot where he's playing.
And the light is shining very brightly.
Lighting is shining spotlight on him, and because of that, he's brighter than the rest of the band. And they say he looks white. This looks like a mixed race band,
and it won't show.
And it won't show
we
correctly.
literally can't play the movie in the South if it's a mixed race movie. And if we think it's a mixed race movie, we can't do this.
And so they force him to go blackface.
Yeah. So
they didn't force him.
Charcoal. Yeah.
Manny says, "Please, it's just
strong arm
for
him
the
into it,
lighting."
yeah.
And just the look of horror and just
It's
anger
really,
as
really
he
great
puts the black makeup on his face.
Yeah.
And then when he's playing, and just the sheer anger in his face as he's playing hard, and
yeah,
it was
he's playing
gorgeous.
brilliantly, and you can see that he is for all the joy that's in the lens, right? He is just filled with rage. And it's also, the start of Manny's own moral downfall, because he has to spend so much effort to say, you're really just hurting the careers of everyone around you by not by refusing to do
compromise
blackface.
himself.
He's starting to compromise himself. Exactly.
Right.
And so that kicks off all of this stuff. And you start to see at the same time Margot Robbie suffering from sound, just because, and one of my other favorite scenes in the movie,
because she's got a New Jersey accent.
She's got a New Jersey accent, Singing in the Rain style. Right. And she's trying to shoot her first sequence where she just has to walk in her room, drop a suitcase down.
Oh, that's
and say,
such a great scene.
This is one of the great bits in the whole movie.
First of all, they did the exact same thing in Singing in the Rain, but this one was so much better executed.
It's so fucking funny. It's so funny. And it's so intense.
It is intense.
And and it represents how high, when you're on a bad set and things are going wrong, it's you feel like you're going to go crazy.
Just to get so no one here is really used to doing sound. This is their first time they're doing a film that's doing sound. Again, there's a mirror scene of this in Singing in the Rain, which we can get to. But what she has to, the microphone, which is huge, right? You don't have little lav mics or boom mics there, is right at a certain spot. So they have an X on the ground. She has to hit that mark, say a line at a specific volume, and every time it's messed up slightly because something happens, she missed a mark. They try to move the mic, and it's no. And the sound guy is just being the biggest asshole to them, like completely
and Sound is up in
inflexible.
this booth that's near the ceiling with a huge scaffolding that leads up to it. So every time he stops,
It's like man from the sky yelling
he
at
has
them.
to like. This is what's wrong. You're just like, oh my god.
That was very frustrating, actually. To
Yeah, and he
see.
goes, I don't answer to you, I answer to my director, which she's 100% correct.
She's totally right. Exactly. The director's running the fucking show.
Right.
But it's like, and so they just layer this, like mistake upon mistake upon mistake until like everybody is so fucking frazzled. The cameraman's in a soundproof box, which is sweltering hot.
No AC
Like,
because it makes too much sound.
Like, exactly. And so he's in the room, it was burning hot. It was just like, whoa. And he keeps like, I can't breathe in there. I can't breathe. And they just stuff him back inside. Like it gets
And then
worse
finally,
and worse and worse.
like finally she just says like boom, boom, boom. And then, she never gets through more than one line of the whole thing. Right.
Cut.
And cut. And they're like, God fucking damn it. Right.
Yeah.
the studio head shows up and like everyone's like, oh no, we're fucking up in front of the studio head. Like everything is horribly wrong. And they finally get one.
And then she goes through the right
perfect
line,
take.
and then she just goes through the rest of the scene with no mistakes at all.
Yep.
Which was flawless.
Right. And then they're like, hooray! Yay! Everyone flips out and everyone's suddenly really happy and they're hugging each other. And
And they
then
open up the camera thing, and the guy is
falls
dead.
out dead. It's like that one was right up there with like one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in any movie is the "Would It Were So Simple" bit from Hail
right.
Caesar.
Right.
And I was just like,
I
this is
thought
it.
of Hail Caesar. I
Oh my
love
God.
that
There's
movie.
a lot of there's some Hail
Love
Caesar-ness in this
There's
too.
Hail Caesar. Like, yeah, I recommend anyone who doesn't like Hail Caesar, I just recommend watching it 50 more times, and you will
It's a great
recite
film.
the entire.
I
It's one
thought
of
about
my
that. I was like, I
favorites.
gotta check out Hail Caesar again.
Oh, it's
I
fun.
love
That
that
movie's
film.
one of
You
my
turned me
favorites.
on to it too.
Oh, dude, what a movie! I only kind of liked it when I first saw it, and now it's like one of my favorite Coens. That's unbelievable. But anyway,
All right.
so yes, this movie is this scene is just unbelievably funny and perfectly put together, and fucking such high stress if you've ever been in that actual
my
situation. Is really good. But yeah, so everything starts falling apart for them because sound is here. The business is hard. People's morals start to change over whether or not. You should-
And then she makes a lot of mistakes. A
Yes.
lot of
Mhm.
mistakes, right? She starts to hire her deadbeat dad as her manager,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a proven
That's
to be a
mistake
problem.
number.
Yeah, he's
Huge
going,
mistake.
oh, it's Eric Roberts, hysterical. He's
Yeah.
just like, I'm going to have a restaurant with her name on it. It's going to be
Oh,
incredible.
I so wanted him to
Jesus.
get eaten by that rattlesnake.
Yeah, it's so good, dude. And so like things start to tip over. You can feel it start to slide. But
Right.
you have no idea how low this movie is
And
going
Brad
to go.
Pitt, who is star, right, is suffering from similar situations,
Yes.
right?
Right.
He's in a there's again another mirror scene from Singing in the Rain.
Mhm.
He's in a movie where he thinks it's okay, but he's never really been in a talkie movie. So he's like, I guess that's okay. And he goes to see the movie and they're all laughing about
Everyone's
how
laughing at him. Yeah.
ridiculous the dialogue is.
I love you. I love you. It was like,
Right.
yeah, like it's it's the scene in Singing in the Rain that they eventually turned into a comedy just to try and sell it.
Right.
And but he like his star starts to wane. Everyone's still partying like crazy, and only the parties are getting more desperate and weird, and to the point where the scene with her dad and the rattlesnake, which was another great scene.
Right. Well,
Another
he
great
keeps
scene.
bragging about crazy stories, and he goes, "Oh, you're telling the snake story again?" It's like, my dad. Who wants to see my dad fight a rattlesnake?
Fight a rattlesnake. Yeah.
Yeah.
They drive out in the desert, find a rattlesnake. He's like, I'll fight that snake. But he's so drunk, he basically passes out before he can fight the snake. And
By the way, I want to tell you a little interesting fact about rattlesnakes. They are the snakes that are the most vulnerable to anything.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yes.
know this.
They are not predators. I mean, they're predators to things, but a lot of things kill rattlesnakes, including a lot of snakes. So king snakes kill and eat rattlesnakes all the time.
Oh,
Which
wow.
snakes?
King snakes,
King snakes.
right?
did
And
not know
then
this.
like a lot of animals kill rattlesnakes and eat them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and
they're
good eating.
actually one of the most vulnerable of all the snakes out there.
And they're pretty tasty too. I've had a rattlesnake.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've had rattlesnake
Yeah,
before.
rattlesnake meat. It's not bad.
And you like it?
Yeah.
It's It's not bad.
It's got I mean, it tastes like, I hate to say it tastes like chicken does, but it's got an interesting texture to it that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Like scallops?
No.
Like chewing tobacco? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a nice texture to it. I like the way it tastes. Okay. So crazy town stuff that happens all the time. We also get introduced to the fact that Margot Robbie has a serious gambling problem.
Yeah. Very bad. Very bad. I don't really gamble that much. Only when I'm drunk or when I'm happy or whatever she says.
That was the best. That was fun.
Right.
Like she ends up owing a lot of money. Lots.
Right. So
$85,000.
$85,000, which is something like $1 million.
That's $1 million. Yeah,
right.
That's like $1 million. Yeah, she is spending.
Oh, right. And we also introduced another character who is another weird character, and it was the doctor or whatever his name is.
Yeah, right.
That guy who gives him the pills, like the peanuts with the freaking pills inside of it. That was funny.
Who wants a bag of peanuts?
That was really great.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's so fucking crazy, this movie. But yeah, So
what happens now? Sort of we're leading towards the end here, but
things start taking a turn.
She owes all this money. She goes to Manny because he's the only one that knows what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like
the
head of the studio.
He's
one of the executives of the studio, right?
Yeah, he is. Go ahead.
He also knows that he loves her. And he'll do anything for her. She takes advantage of him.
Oh, without a doubt. And
she doesn't necessarily know that directly, but she knows that she can just go to Manny if she has anything.
I feel like he is just like she is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She sort of represents movies to Manny. Like, I mean, like there's an idea that he's fallen in love with her. He's not really in love with her, but there's something special about her that he wants to be true. And the more he knows about them, like she reflects how his vision of what movies are is devolving the more he knows about movie making. Like he rises in the ranks and eventually becomes a studio head of a small studio, making money on doing pictures for underserved groups and musicals and all this kind of stuff. And so he's doing very, very well. But at the same time, he is sacrificing a lot of his own morals to get there, his own ethics to get there anyway. And he's seeing how the sausage is made, and his image of what movie making is sort of collapsing. And she is the vision of that. Like, she goes from being an incredibly charming, likable young ingenue with a crackerjack attitude to a desperate, drug-ridden... she's a mess. You know, and just needs money, and you know, she's just fucking horrible. You know, she's a shit show by the end of the movie. And his love of film dies out over the process of being involved in making movies. And I think that's sort of like it wasn't visible while it was happening in the movie to me, but upon reflection, I'm like, that's the point.
Mm.
You know, like this is like, it's how like being involved in this stuff and knowing all the fucking stupid shit that happens and the bad people and the cruelties and the drugs and the mess and the nonsense really can take the fucking shine off the apple of what you want out of your career and what you went there for in the first place. And the magic slowly evaporates from what he is experiencing.
What's up?
Yeah.
You know,
particularly when his moral kind of compass falls with the jazz player.
Right. And so like she comes back to him begging for money, and like he helps her because he would love to have that back. Not because he's in love with her. It's not like a love story. But he wants this to change.
He
does. Yeah, he does.
He does, because he wouldn't have put himself out with a mob like that.
Oh yeah, he loves her, but I think it is like, in terms of what the movie is saying, it's a more ethereal statement love rather than like Margot Robbie is so amazing and attractive, and like she's whatever, like she's a desperate fucking freak by the time she hits that point.
I mean, he had an image of her from the first time he saw her at the beginning of the movie, and
it flashes to it, right?
Flashes to it, and that's what he remembers, right?
Yeah, this is like he wants that back. He wants that image of what she and movies mean to him back. He got involved with this because he first gets there, he's willing to do fucking anything to be in movies, and he says so.
He also, like, to him, the glory of him bringing that camera back to the German guy was like, that's what movies.
It's tremendous. Yeah,
that is you being the hero.
You're the
hero. I think that was a wonderful thing to sort of illustrate that part of Hollywood more than the actors. Is just like the behind the scenes guy, and what it's like exciting to be the behind the scenes guy.
Right. It's this dude who's he begins in the periphery.
Kind of like Philip Seymour Hoffman in Boogie Nights.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that was
he's my favorite character in that film, easily. I'm a fucking idiot. It's the best. But yeah, so like that's where he really is. That's where Manuel ends up being like, he really is the lens of the film, and so he's like, I'll totally help you out. How much money do you owe? And she's like, basically,
no. He's like, no. He's angry at her.
Oh, he's pissed.
Very
it's a big
angry
fight.
at her.
Yeah.
Very angry at her. He says, fine, I'll help you. She's like, you'll help me? He's like, I'll help you. Right. So the next scene, he sounds the doctor, or whoever the hell he is.
Yeah. He insists on being called like the something, the count or whatever, the Duke. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that guy was so good.
Yeah. He's so funny, dude. He's so funny. Yeah. And so like he's like, don't worry, I'll figure this out somehow, and you'll stay here for 3 days. I'll talk to the doctor and we'll get some solution together.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry.
I got it. So he gets a suitcase full of money. He's like, where do you get it? It's like, don't ask those questions. So they go to the mob, right? They show up at the mobster's house, and we don't know what. And we're pretty far into the movie. Like, we're at least 2+ hours into the movie when
I love that scene. The tension was so great.
So
this
good.
Is, you know what this is in Boogie Nights? This is the cocaine scene with the firecrackers.
Yes.
Actually, you know what it is?
It's exactly
true
the
romance.
Cocaine scene or true romance.
Yes. It's also true romance. Yeah, exactly. Right.
So many great references.
Yeah, it's funny as hell. And like so they meet the whatever who does this person represent?
First of all, the guy who escorts them there is this big guy who keeps spitting.
Yeah,
that reminded me of Chris.
It's a little bit. Yeah,
well, I do. It was great. I hate to tell you,
but that's the thing. Can I just point that out? That's the firecracker guy.
That's the
Boogie Nights is the fire is they've got this thing that distracts you and unnerves you.
Yep,
that's exactly what it is. That's the Thai boy. Yeah,
exactly. Right. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. And so who is the
in a career defining performance?
Career-defining performance.
Former Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire in the creepiest. Like, I would never. And you think, like, who are we going to get who can play really creepy guy? I would never have picked Tobey Maguire, but they did.
Yes, 100%.
And he was amazing.
Yeah, he's so funny and so nasty. Like, you can smell what he smells like in the scene. He's disgusting.
It's so disgusting.
Yellow teeth, sunken, super yellow sour
teeth,
eyes.
And like this eyes. I'm like,
hideous. Hideous. And he's like, yeah, I got ideas for movies.
I wrote this one down.
And I love that he describes when he describes this fucking plot, he's just like, there's this little boy, and he's so skilled at all this stuff.
He's so smart.
And he turns out
he's a midget.
He's a 50-year-old midget. And it was like, that's the plot to Orphan. It's literally the plot of the horror movie Orphan. I was like, this is brilliant.
I was thinking it was the plot of what was the one that you keep talking about? The guy that ends up killing the person, Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, that's another one. It's don't look now. Yeah,
don't look now.
Yeah. It's a midget. It's like it's so nasty. He tells the most awkward, nasty, like wrong stories, just wrong. And
it was
incredibly
really
wrong about it.
But he just holds this little black book and he's like, I have another one.
And now when you guys finally see Under the Silver Lake, there is a character like this, and you're going to be like, this is the Tobey Maguire moment. I don't want to tell you anything else, but he's waiting for you in that movie. It's incredible.
So,
But yes.
So then he says, "Oh, there's a person for your next movie. You have to see him. You have to see him.
To see him.
He's amazing. He's amazing." And like,
They've handed over the money.
That's
The
okay.
money's no longer a problem, right?
Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah,
They gave him
and the
money.
money's there. Oh, and he disappears for a little bit, right? So he's got the bag of money there. He's not like, it's fine. It disappears for a while. And then he asked the doctor, he's like, "Where did you get all that money?" And he's like, "Oh no, we just made it." It's like, "That's so and so made." It's like,
how'd you make the money?
The prop guy made what?
You made the money?
The movie?
They made it.
And
No,
it's
it's prop
fake money?
It's fake money. It's prop money.
Where do you think I'm going to get money at this hour?
Yeah, well, it's like, you didn't give me much notice. I can't get $85,000. It's like,
Oh, no.
and it's like he realizes the entire thing is fake. And you know what that reminded me of? I don't know if you remember this.
Sharky's Machine.
No,
His machine.
this happened. No, this is actually a real story that happened, and it was actually on right after we shot the bank scene of V-Ray IRL.
Right.
And so what happened on that? And you were gone. You had to go with
Yep.
Carl or something, whatever was going on. But it was Daniel Buck and Rob Niederhorst were talking about how much they loved the smoke machine, right?
Right.
And Dan Thron was looking it up on Amazon on his phone. He goes, he says, $200 for a smoke machine. We can get one. And Dan says, "I'll go half with you." And he's like, "Okay." And so
Let's do it.
let's do it. And then Daniel Buck hands him $100 bill and he puts it in his wallet. And I was like, "Wait, look at that bill again." And Daniel Buck stole one of the prop
One of
money
the fake
$100 bills
yeah.
and gave that to
Really?
yes.
So good.
Gave him fake money.
Little did we know, Damien Chazelle was waiting
Wow.
nearby and says that would make a great
I never heard
film.
that story.
No, it's a real story.
Yep, that's so good.
It was so
good.
funny. It was so funny.
Man. But yeah, like this,
So
Yeah.
then he realizes, oh shit, we're in trouble. They've
We've
got
already
a bag
handed
full
over
of
the fake
folk
money.
and now they want us to go somewhere, and all I want to do is get out of here.
yeah, right. But
Right?
it's too late. It's too late.
Too
He
late.
comes
It's
back,
like, no,
come
we're going
with me. We gotta
we're
go
going.
see
It's
this
just
guy.
over. It's just over the hill. Just
Yeah, just
Right.
come on, guys.
just over the hill. It's like, yeah, get the coats right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Right around the corner.
Right around the
Oh,
corner.
man.
That's
Yeah.
totally, that's exactly what it was.
And so you're like you know it's going to be bad. Like you're like this is going to be
Yeah.
bad.
It's
Yeah.
going to be bad. And it
You
turns a
already
little bit
know
eyes wide shut
it's
at this
getting
point.
that way.
And it's just like it gets bad. And you're like this is bad. And it gets a little worse. And you're like this get really bad.
No,
Like,
no, yeah.
Let's get
so
a
they
little
basically
lower.
go into a sewage hole,
Yeah.
into a storm drain kind of area, which is like the underground, right?
Mm.
And there's this crazy parties going on, and like, oh, this doesn't look. Oh, people fighting, right? So it's like underground.
Yeah, it's like
fighting,
Fight Club, like caged
Fight Club
people.
thing going on. Everyone's cheering. And it's like, oh, this isn't good. And goes, oh, it's not on this level. It must be on the next level.
And
they
level
go
down. Let's go down one
Let's
more
go
level.
down one more level, and
Right.
then it's just like
hell. They're
people
going
in
down to
jail
hell.
cells
Yeah,
doing weird things,
Pervy shit's going
pervy
on.
shit going on.
Oh my
And he's like,
God.
no. It must be one more level
One
down.
more level.
And there's like an
oh,
alligator
God.
in like a room.
Alligator
Oh, my God, yeah.
blocking the
Ready to
hallway.
eat people. Yeah. Oh man. And
Oh.
what's really happening is that this is a disgusting comic representation, a grand guignol comic representation of the movie you're watching. Like
Right.
it's about the
it's
levels.
just, like,
How
let's see
low
how
will
low
you
can
go?
Yeah.
Right. How low will you go to get what you think you want?
Mm-hmm.
And
And
they
all you want
go
to do is get out of it.
low. And all you want to do is get the fuck out. It's like, oh, let's look at this party. And you're like, yeah, I think it was at this party at the beginning of the movie. This is just a little bit nastier.
Yep.
And then party after party after party, and then the alligator, and you're like, what the fuck is
And
going
you
on?
go to the
man?
bottom, and he's like, there he is. There he is. Oh my
Yeah.
God, Tobey Maguire was,
That was
So funny, man. It's so nasty.
Isn't he? Look what he'll do. And it's
He'll
this
do
big,
anything for money.
That's an
He'll do
actor.
anything for
That's
money,
a-
which
he
is
came
also
from
a
Oregon.
statement.
Yes, he'll
Right.
do anything for money. He'll do anything for money.
What was that, Eric?
He's like, oh, he came from Oregon, all the way down.
That's right. He came from some fucking farm in Oregon.
Oregon, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically like Margot Robbie or anybody who's come to Hollywood from the Midwest to become a big star.
Mhm.
Here you are.
You'll do
You are in a
anything. You'll
cellar.
eat mice.
We'll fucking eat live rats.
Or is that rats?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for anything for money.
And then he's like, give me a 20. And he goes in a bag and he just grabs one of the fake 20s and just throws it at him. He's like, give me another. And he's holding up the money. And then his drip, because they're on this damp, weird
disgusting
place,
cellar.
water comes down and he sees the ink of the money dripping down. And he realizes this is fake.
And they're like, oh shit.
And they're surrounded by all these crazy people and they start chasing them. So they
guy pulls a gun on him. And so
he hits him with his clobber.
Grabs this fucking like shovel / hook, whatever it is.
It's like a baseball bat, but with spikes on it.
With spikes on it. And fucking this guy's coming at him with a gun and he goes, plack, and like hits him in the neck. Blood like starts spraying everywhere.
That was so awesome.
They start running out of there.
I love that scene. It was like,
in order to keep the people from chasing them down, they cut the alligator loose to go and eat the people that are chasing them.
Very smart.
Absolutely bananas. And then they keep running, guns shooting after them the whole time.
Right.
Insanity. Pure insanity.
Let's finish this story and then we'll go back because in parallel to this, there's the Brad Pitt story as well, which we need to get to.
Right.
But so they kind of get out. He's like, we got to get out of town, right? Like to Margot or Robbie.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. We got to
go. We'll go to Mexico. Right. And she's like, okay. And honestly, she's
such a loose cannon. Like by this time of the film, is total like nutty loose cannon. It was kind of funny actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of dreams this way, and I know it's not uncommon, and you guys probably have the same things. But do you ever have dreams where you're trying to get somewhere and you just can't?
I always have that. Yeah,
interrupted.
Yeah, you just can't, no matter
Problem
what.
with your luggage,
right?
Yeah,
or held back, or whatever it is. Yep. 100%.
And then you're like, but if I finish this journey, I get to go fishing or whatever the story that you're trying to get on, but you never can get there. And that's what this was like. It's like, okay, let's get out of town. Like, no, I still have to pick up this. Oh no, still need to get gas. I need to do this. Like they're constantly interrupted, right? But he, in this opportunity, like sees her, has the opportunity to tell her how much he loves her, right?
Right.
And how he wants to be with her, and she's like, I love you too, and we're engaged now, right?
Right.
And so finally, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna be with her. All I got to do is get her to Mexico, and we'll be fine, right? And he has to do one last stop. And of course, she gets out of the car and just walks off into the darkness.
Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful shot, right? Because she gets out of the car, she's in the darkness. There's one lamp with light shining down on the street, and so there's a spotlight, a pool of light, right? And she walks into the pool of light
and out of it,
and walks out of it, and that's it.
Yeah, so it's kind of an open-ended what happened to her.
Yeah, and that's her journey, right? She walked out, she came out of nowhere, was in the spotlight for a few moments, and then disappeared, which is exactly what the critic predicted for Brad Pitt, for instance.
Right, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, right.
She, the critic is one of my favorite, and I think she's a highly underrated actress.
Oh, I think she's great. Yeah, she's great in the scene too.
And she's played, this is someone we forgot to mention, but she's been throughout the whole film. She's been involved. She's the film critic or gossip columnist kind of person, right?
Yeah, there was a famous gossip columnist with a lot of power at that time, and I totally
it's
Gabler,
Hedda
Gabler,
okay.
right?
Yeah, and she's and they sort of make fun of her in Hail Caesar as well, because like Tilda Swinton plays the dual gossip columnist in that.
Right.
But this Hedda, it's Hedda something.
Did Hedda Gabler?
Yeah, I can't quite think of it. It sounds right. Well, let's go with that.
Okay. But the actress is the same actress who plays
Hopper.
She's in Hacks more recently, which is a really good show on HBO.
And she's in
Hopper.
Yep.
She was famous.
Hedda Hopper.
Hedda Hopper is who you're trying to think of, Eric. That's the actual gossip columnist. The actor that you're trying to think of is Jean Smart. That's who's playing the role of the gossip columnist in Babylon. She is in Hacks.
She's in Hacks. She's also was famous in Designing Women. That was a big show. And she also plays
Frasier.
In Frasier, she plays Lanny Lornan, who was the head cheerleader of Frasier, and who has fantastic. She is so good in Frasier.
Yeah, she's funny as hell.
So good.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite. That and the person who plays BB, his agent.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love BB.
Some of the best characters. Anyway, enough about Frasier. I know we'll distract it. It's like I just want to note that we've gone an hour and 40 minutes and we have not brought up Bill Hader once. So this is a pretty good record for us. So,
yeah, this is pretty good, man. That's got to be time. I'm sure
That's
Bill was listening.
he's
and like, what's happening? Do you guys fall in love or what happened?
Okay. Back to what happened. She's out of the spotlight. He can't find her anymore. She's gone. Right.
Right.
We'll follow up with Manny later. Let's go back to the Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's career had several flops, several flops, and he can sense his career dying.
Is dwindling, yeah.
And there's a wonderful scene on the phone where this guy calls. It's like Brad Pitt, whatever his character's name. It's like, yeah, listen, hey, are you available to be in my movie starting on Monday? It's going to be wonderful, man. You're going to come back. It's going to be incredible. And he's like, stop lying to me.
It's just a piece of shit.
It's a piece of shit, right? He's like, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's a piece of shit. When can you not lie to me for 10 seconds? Does that answer me? Is it a piece of shit? He's like,
yeah,
it's a piece of shit.
I'll see you on Monday.
I'll see you on Monday.
Which is kind of the way you want it.
I was just like, I think I've been on that phone call.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. I had this memory, Eric and I worked on Stealth, as we've said many times. And Rob Cohen had a screening for us. Eric, you might have, I don't remember if you were there at the screening, the one that they had at the Sony lot.
No, I never saw the movie.
Oh, okay. So anyway, he had a screening at the Sony lot for all the DD people that he was, and this is where he basically decided it was called the Pizza and Pot Party. He got us a bunch of pizza and had the executives at DD literally rolling joints and passing it around to all the artists on the Sony.
The Babylon days.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was crazy town. But what was funny about it is like, we were all looking at this movie. We all knew it was a piece of shit. Everyone knew it was a piece of shit.
Right.
Like the movie was terrible. It made no freaking sense whatsoever.
It's
right?
true.
But Rob invited us on like the sound mixing stage at Sony to watch this thing and enjoy pizza and get high.
Right on, Rob.
And so like, we were all just cheering and doing crazy stuff, right? And there was some other person, some executive or whatever, that was sitting next to Rob at this experience. And that executive looks at Rob and he goes, what a great experience this was. It was a terrible movie. But he just said it with and then Rob Lincoln's like, I'm glad you got to experience it with all these wonderful people who really put their heart and soul into it.
Hollywood, baby.
And I was realizing, like, we're all lying to each other all the time.
It's it. No, it's wonderful. Isn't it great? Isn't it terrific?
And I've been in a couple of, pitch meetings, and to hear the feedback of them, like, this is great. And it's like, you're never going to get this movie. They never tell you this is a terrible idea.
Of course not.
No,
of course not.
No.
Nobody ever. I have never.
No one's
once been
honest
a
in
meeting
this
like that.
town.
No,
one is
no.
honest.
I really loved it. Really great
Really
stuff.
great.
Really
Really
great. Yeah,
Really
yeah,
great.
yeah, man. Yeah, it's endless.
Like the worst insult I can say is like, I'm not sure this is exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's get the fuck out.
That means like, get the fuck out. This is the worst idea I ever heard.
Exactly. Can't you just be honest with me?
Yeah.
It's a piece of shit, right? It's a piece of shit. A similar story is when I worked on the A-Team with Liam Neeson. And Joe Carnahan was directing.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson.
Joe Carnahan. And Joe Carnahan has a fucking blast to work with too. And I will actually say that the A-Team, for being a shitty cash-in movie, is a pretty fun shitty cash-in movie. However, that said, it is a shitty cash-in movie. And like
shittycashinmovie.com.
And he's doing it because it's a big paycheck. It's got, it's a Hollywood remake of a blah, blah, blah. And he knows it. We all know it, right? And we went to the screening on the Sony lot, and like get there, go and like sit on down. It's just the VFX that like just VFX there, and we're going to see the movie. And Joe comes out and he's just like, listen, guys, I got to tell you, this means a lot to me. You guys done such work to bring this together, and I'm really, really proud of working with all of you. Wonderful, wonderful imagery you've constructed for this film, and I'm incredibly proud of what we've done. This is a real movie. This is a real movie we've made, and I can't thank you enough to be part of this with you. And now, without further ado, Marmaduke.
Are you serious?
Like, yeah, he absolutely said this. I fucking died laughing. I was like, it's just like, yeah, I know we made some bullshit. Who cares? Like, he was just
Marmaduke.
like, who cares? We all got paid. We had a good time.
Wow,
it's all
that's
right.
very funny.
Marmaduke.
I remember actually, Eric, it was, you and I were working on that ridiculous sequence for like months on Stealth called the camel hump sequence, which is that stupid blimp with the gas coming out of it. Remember that?
That's right.
It's an insane story. Like crazy thing. And we spent a lot of time on that thing. And I remember Evan Jacobs was, our manager at the time, and he comes up to me and he says, are you working on that camel hump sequence? And I said, yep. And he goes, that makes no sense. I was like, no. It's like, he's like, has anyone said like the emperor has no clothes? Like, this is terrible.
The last thing anyone would say at a movie.
No one will say this is a terrible idea.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, I think I agree with this. Like, if you're like, it's like with Harrison Ford was mad at Shia LaBeouf because Shia LaBeouf was like saying how shitty Indiana Jones was. And he was just like, you fucking idiot. Like, we're not out here because, we're a bunch of pals. We're out here selling the movie that we made. That's our job.
Right.
Like, of course, that's the best thing that you've ever done. And until 10 years later, when you can admit that it was shit, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's such a lie.
Yeah. That's the whole town there.
Yeah.
That's the whole town.
Be honest with me. It's a piece of shit. It's a
piece of shit. I love it. And so, yeah, like I was thinking, even when watching this movie, I was like, but even by that point, I was like, I do not know how Chazelle got this greenlit, because it's so
Brad Pitt.
Oh, it's very anti-Hollywood.
It's anti-Hollywood. It's
just after
gigantically expensive.
Yes, but it's Brad Pitt, and it's just after the COVID.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Right?
It's just like
we want to get people back in seats and blah blah
wild,
blah,
man.
and so they do that.
It's because like I think that this is someone along the way must have known. Like, I mean, I said, like, I'm not saying the movie is bad, but I could in one watch, I would, if I didn't know if this was a bomb, I would have said this will bomb. This is a bomb. Like, this
this will bomb, but this is a movie that I'm always going to remember.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which movie are you talking about?
Babylon. Like, there's no way, if someone had shown this to me out of the blue and said, do you think this is going to be a hit? I would say this is going to crash and burn like the fucking Hindenburg. There's this is a bad investment.
I stand by this. This will crash and burn in 2023. Mm-hmm. However, if this was made in the 90s, this would have been Oscar contender, top movie.
Made in the 70s. Yeah, I agree with Eric. Like, this is more of a weird mid 70s Altman experience.
Yeah.
They're just like, what the fuck is this thing?
I would say late 70s. That way you can get away with some more really hardcore sex stuff, and it would make it really authentic, like a good
but it
wine.
had a little bit of that era of like, Chicago and all those other types of
there's a little bit of that too. Yeah.
That's what I didn't like about it.
Yeah, I see. Okay, Eric.
It's like
now I see
like
the conflict.
Jazz.
Woo, it's a little like
and
there's
then
an
you cut
artifice
to
to
a
it.
guy,
Yeah, sure.
another guy with his hand up her behind, and it's just like what? It's like it's cruising meets Chicago, and I don't like that.
Okay,
it's like you're either going to be.
I would pay for that. What are you talking about?
That's another quote by me. Cruising meets Chicago.
Cruising,
and it's like
Chicago.
It's totally like
Mr. Cellophane takes on a whole new flavor.
Yeah,
it's going to be amazing.
Just be cruising. Just be cruising. And it was a little too Baz Luhrmann for me, to be honest. I just felt like they pulled a lot from that playbook in terms of costumes and sets. And
Yeah,
I just
hear
was,
you. I hear
and
you,
I
Eric.
just was
I'm
like,
with
man,
you. I'm with
I
you.
just,
But it's interesting because I'm just going to go back a little history because one of our prequel episodes of Martini Giant, when it was still under the CG Garage umbrella, it was Daniel and I arguing about La La Land, right?
Yes.
And I
right.
talked about how much I had problems with La La Land because I was so anti-nostalgia, and it still am in some sense. And I think that La La Land is very nostalgic. Now, this movie is extremely nostalgic, right?
Mhm.
But I was also mentioned that like there's a state of mind that you're in when you watch a movie that you either are with it or not with it, and somehow it doesn't matter if everything you guys are saying is correct, but a state of mind in my mind put me in favor of this movie at this moment in time.
Oh
right?
yeah, no, I'm
but that
with
state
you. I'm
of,
with you.
I guess what I touched on earlier is that state of mind was broken because it's stylistically, it kind of bounced a little bit.
You don't like the artifice that he was bringing to the table on this thing. The Baz Luhrmann-ishness sort of.
That's
you
the
would
only
prefer
part
to be more
that just took
realistic,
me
right?
out.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
And
I mean, Eric also, but isn't he referencing a bazillion types of movies from all kinds of times? And then, so it's just a
Yeah, I think that he
potpourri
wants. I think that what he wants
I
to do.
understand that, but it
Right.
just, for me, it just seemed, Hollywood's a dream, but it just seemed too, it seemed, there wasn't, an authenticity was gone, where the main protagonist, he was authentic. I totally followed his story.
Right.
And I just felt it took it out a little bit because he was more authentic than the parties. He was like, what am I doing here? Look.
I totally hear where you're coming from. I enjoyed it a lot.
It's not directing. It's a
choice to do it in this.
It's art direction.
Yeah, well, because it's very much a choice to be so intentionally artificial and cinematic in this stuff. And I think that what makes the movie so abrasive, essentially, because like you could make it grittier and it wouldn't be as abrasive. Because like I think that like when you're watching something like Cruising, for instance, a perfect marker, like you know what you're in for with Cruising from the opening scene, right? It's not trying in any way to be pretty. And so if you're in it, you're in it. And if you're not, you're out. But this movie is constantly also showing its classic Hollywoodisms and skill and artifice, and also showing you stuff that is disturbing to any normal Hollywood sensibility. So wait 1 second. So like the discordancy between his flourishy style, which is very, very Hollywood and very, very artifice, and what he's attempting to show, which is very depraved and very crazy, is awkward and abrasive. And so like I think he's doing that on purpose, right? But it is not very much fun for the kind of movie that you want to grab onto.
Okay, and you were just talking about the classical Hollywood isms. There was nothing in that movie in those opening shots. You guys didn't even know that was Bel Air. You thought it was Bakersfield.
No, right. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about what they're showing. I'm talking about how the camera is moving, how he's like shows like the jazz flash, like the Baz Luhrmann-ness of it, not what he's showing. I think that the contrast is between what he's showing, the filthy the burnt out Bel Air, right, and the style of the camera.
Everything seems staged.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's what I mean.
It was
100%.
staged, whereas the rest of the movie wasn't. It was real. And it was an adventure, and he was like just Indiana Jones going on this crazy ride, and a ball thing rolls after him, and then you go back into this staged world where it's like it didn't need to be staged. All you have to do is show a bunch of naked girls with oil on the floor, and you're like, holy moly, and there's coke all around, and people are doing crazy stuff.
Yeah,
and that would have been better rather than like some sort of
This is right. So that's
like a cigarette commercial from 1972.
Right, but that's why it's an abrasive choice. I think it's a choice. I think it's intentionally making you feel this way, and it's what made it abrasive to me. Like I enjoyed the abrasiveness of it, but like he was
trying to just put romance into it and mystique about the era, just like a jazz age thing.
Well, I think he's trying to create a massive contradiction between those things because the style doesn't fit what he's showing you. It's like when you're saying it's like Chicago meets Cruising. It's like that's exactly what is unpleasant about the experience, and like it's so constant that it's not like it's a mistake. Like what I don't like about Baz Luhrmann is that he is only surface, like he is only style and only glitz, and whereas like Chazelle taking this, I mean, because he takes the skill, the the skills he's applied to La La Land, the technical skills, the camera skills, the Hollywood flash and the staging and all this stuff where it's intentionally fake and he has total control over it. And he's like, what if we do that, only we film things that you would not film in that style? And it is very unpleasant to do that. Like, that's not fun. It feels fake and
I
weird.
actually feel the scene that really that I felt was as contrived as that's not, like the jazz scenes or whatever, the sex, the party. It just was when she's went crazy on the people because she comes from Jersey and she threw all the food around.
Right.
It just was not, it didn't work for me. And I felt like there was this battle between like being, I think it took away from the characters because journey, honestly, for everybody. And at the end, I loved the ending. And I wish it was more of it was like that.
I hear what you're saying.
The ending the ending put a really nice little bow on everything, and then we'll get
so
to that in a second. And you're absolutely right. But let's go back to what happened. Is basically Brad Pitt's character. He's done a couple flops. They're not doing well. He can tell people are trying to be super polite to him, and he can tell he's at a party. He's been traveling in Europe. That was another thing. He was traveling in Europe, so he doesn't really hear the news, right?
Right.
He's there, and everyone's like, "How you doing, buddy?"
Everything
and
all
they
right?
realize it was like, you too? What the hell? How bad is this movie?
Would someone please tell me what the fuck is going on?
Right. And no one will tell him the honest truth, which is part of what we've been discussing has been part of the issue, right? And so finally he sees a piece that's written in a column and is from the critic, who's the only person who will actually tell him the truth of what's happening, right?
Yep.
And she's...
The way it is.
And she gives a nice, good speech about, it's like, you've had your run, you're done. You're going to be done at some point. You're done now.
Yep. And that's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
That's the nature of the beast.
Nature of the beast, right? And then so he realizes this, but this also at the same time, this has part of his identity in some ways. And it was a little bit strange because I figured, like, of all the people, it seems like he could see, like, okay, I'll retire. I'll go fishing or whatever, like something like that. But he can't.
Right.
It was really sad.
Yeah.
It is sad.
Well, the thing is, I think that what he says the reason why he fights with his wife and everything like this is like, he really believes in this as art, and he's fought his whole life to keep it that way and
to be an artist, right?
To be an artist. And now,
and then especially the other one is like, he fights with he has like 3 or 4 wives throughout this movie, right? And one of them is a stage actor who's very noble about being a stage actor. He's like, 100,000 people see your play. It's a massive success. It's a complete flop for me.
It's a flop. Go back to your fucking Eugene O'Neill, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And he's like, just really basically bull. And it's like, oh, he's right. You can't.
This is meaningful to people. This is meaningful to people.
It was an amazing scene of that. And so he basically, after she gets that speech from the critic, and then he's having a dinner and he's wandering around, and he goes to the bellboy. And again, it's this mirror of the girl trying to get his attention in some ways about, with the cleavage scene, which you mentioned earlier. And he goes to the boy and he goes, "What's the biggest tip you ever got?" And he goes, $50. He goes, $50? Who gave you that?
You did.
You did.
You did, sir.
That was so well done. Yeah, Such a great line.
And
he
realizes, that was great. Brad Pitt. He's just so charismatic and so.
Yeah.
He is a warm glass of whiskey.
Oh.
Yeah, he's just incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, he
but he does that. He gives him $50.
Yep.
And
goes upstairs.
And
he gives him his whole wallet.
Just a huge wad of money. He goes to his room.
Everything out of his wallet and gives it to him. That's where I was like, oh no, I know exactly what he's going to do.
Yep.
Like William Hurt in the movie Scandal.
Right.
The Profumo thing where he takes his life.
Yep.
Same kind of like tip off like that.
Yep. And goes up into his room. You see through the crack in the door, bang, shoots himself, and that's that. Yeah. And it's the death of a certain level of class and art in film.
Did you notice the little tip too, that he leaves the door open? That way they don't break the door down trying to get to him after they hear the bullet.
Yep. Yep. It's a nice touch. Nice touch. Yeah, it's very sad. He represents a certain era and a certain classiness of film. And you know that is
Go out while you're on top, baby.
Yep. That's that.
That's that.
Lights out.
Yep.
So then, to finish it off, which was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Manny, go back to 1952. We skip ahead to 1952. Manny has a wife, hair is receding.
Yep.
He has a kid.
He had fled to Mexico.
He had fled to Mexico. They're all speaking Spanish, and they're in Los Angeles touring around. And he's walking around trying to look at the studios. And he's talking to the security guard who also
It's at a Paramount.
That's at a Paramount.
It's at a
Street.
Paramount, right? Yeah.
He used to live right down the street from that.
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were talking, and he's talking to the security guard, and they speak to each other in Spanish, so they have a little bit more, connection there. And then his wife and his kid is like, oh, we want to go get ice cream or whatever. It's like, okay. And then he decides to walk into the movie theaters and watch a movie. And what movie does he watch?
Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain, 1952.
Mm-hmm.
And what's wonderful about it is like, they showed him the experience of him watching Singing in the Rain. And we've seen that movie. At least the people who are watching this movie will have seen that movie. I've seen that movie. We'll talk about it right after. But as he's watching it, all the things that are happening Singing in the Rain are flashing back to him as parts of the movie that we just watched.
Right. Now, they're all variations on these plot points in Singing in the Rain.
Yeah. And then he's just like overwhelmed with emotion as he watches that. And that's the end of the movie.
And this is the key, is he's like, initially he's just watching it and he looks sad. And then he's involved. And then he's crying. And then he smiles. And that's the end of the movie.
That crane shot.
Like the diving crane shot up and around like this. Yeah. Yeah, like
right.
he smiles in the end of the movie is the judgment that's Damien Chazelle's judgment on what he has been through. Is it all worth it?
Yes.
Yes.
Somehow it's still all worth it.
After all of that, after everything of the ringer that the audience has been through, that after the ringer that Manuel has been through, is it all worth it, Manuel? Yes. That's the affirmation at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yep. And it is interesting because, I mean, I won't relitigate it, but I've always thought that La La Land is an anti-nostalgia film. And I think you're right. This is a nostalgia film. This is the opposite side of the coin, both in terms of tone, and in terms of nostalgia. But it is essentially the same story as La La Land, talking about exactly the same thing. It's just the dark, broken-hearted version of it.
But nostalgia tends to paint a pretty picture.
This is what I think is fascinating.
Does not paint a pretty picture.
This is that makes it because La La Land.
No, it doesn't. It's nostalgic, and it's also it's about how life, you have no control at times, and you have these regrets.
It's mournful. It is mournful. Right. And so I think that what is fascinating to me about La La Land is that the point of the movie is to let go of the past, right? And it is it's saying fuck the past, even though all of the movie is in the style of a Technicolor movie of the past. And this is showing you the opposite. It's showing you hideousness on parade. And then in the end it goes, man, I fucking missed that. And like, wow, that's insane. I understand that very well.
Yeah.
And I know that feeling very well.
And it actually segues well into a personal experience I had with Singing in the Rain that I want to get to, which is an interesting one. So we're going to switch over to Singing in the Rain. Are you guys ready to switch over to Singing in the Rain?
Let's switch over.
Okay, so now we're in Singing in the Rain.
A happier film.
It is definitely a happier film, but the message is almost identical in a lot of ways, which is the point of the last movie, I think. But I do want to point out that this movie is very, very, very important to Hollywood.
Oh, and it's a fucking great movie.
It's a great movie.
It's like, it's inarguably a great film. Like it's,
Right.
I've never met anybody, people who don't like musicals are like, well, okay, that one's pretty good. Like,
No.
this is just an incredible film.
I'm actually, this is the story I want to tell. Exactly. So, this is a film that I've loved many times. And I've actually, when I lived in Greece, I think you guys remember that we had very little TV, but they like to play old American movies on Saturdays or Sundays or whatever it was. So I constantly watched old 1940s, 50s, and 30s musicals constantly. Lots of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, lots of that kind of stuff. So to me, this was all very familiar, and I kind of enjoyed it as part of my American history upbringing at that time, right? Which was kind of a strange thing. So, but what was I remember sort of, say, oh, Singing in the Rain. I love Singing in the Rain, right? Because I saw that as a kid as a specific way. But I was in, when I went to architecture school, I had some electives and I took some other classes that I could do. And I took I took a couple of film classes, and one of them was a film history class. And we had to watch Singing in the Rain as part of the film history class, right? And think about this, it was probably 1995, 96, whatever, right? And there was some guy in the class who just basically said, this is such a stupid film. Why people just break out in a song or whatever.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, you don't get it.
Just
like,
fucking shoot me.
right? And I was like, and this was when the time when like, Pulp Fiction was very popular, and that's what they went to. They went to see shocking Pulp Fiction, blood, craziness, right?
Yeah, intensity.
And then this is not. This is just fun. This is just happiness and joy and entertainment.
Right.
That, remember, there was a whole thing called That's Entertainment.
Yep.
Right. And to me, that was what was so fascinating. I was like, this is a great film, and on top of that, through the veil of all of that fun stuff, they're telling you about Hollywood, a story that is very, very important.
Yeah, the real history of Hollywood. Yeah.
And it was a fascinating thing to see that guy just like, give me more gangsters, or, you know what I mean? It was like something about it.
Yeah. Like this stuff is always true. It's like whatever the style is of the moment is going to have the most ardent defenders, even amongst, the people that consider themselves to be the cutting edge of film, that have no interest in what film is. Like they're interested in this being hip and being stylish.
It's the film of the present.
It's the film of the
sense
moment.
of history.
Yeah. Right. And like it's like when I always say it with, with all it's, and this works both ways, by the way, because like there's so many people that I talk to are just like, you see some new movie, some brilliant new movie, and people are just like, oh, well, it's not like the old movie. It's not like the Bogart films or the French blah, blah,
it's
blah.
No
whatever
domino principle.
It's no whatever it is. Like, this is just, you're just wearing art as jewelry when you're doing that. Like, you're picking a thing that you think is classy and you're wearing it to look good. Like, that's all that's happening. Like, if I don't, when I watch an old movie, I don't like the old movie because it is old. It's like, oh, look at how fucking badly made this is, or how shitty the film grain is, and isn't it silly or funny that it's in this old style of acting? Like I like it because I like it. I like it because it's good, And this is when it comes down to like, there's a new when they're making a new Star Trek show that tries to ape the style of the old series. And I'm just like, when they were making the old Star Trek, they weren't trying to make it stupid. Like, they just didn't have a lot of money. Like, they were trying to write well and do a good job.
The best they could, yeah.
This is where they were at. And you have to be, if you like it, you have to like it from that, not because it's fucking kitschy and stupid. Like, then you're just patting yourself on the back for being smart or better or rich or whatever it is. And so when I hear things like this with the Pulp Fiction, like, Pulp Fiction is a great film. It's a great film. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but
But if
that's
you can't
a different
see
film.
Yeah, exactly. You can't see that Singin' in the Rain is a great film. Even if you like it or don't like it, if you can't see that it's great, then you probably don't like film very much.
Right.
Like, there's
You
plenty
know
of
who
people,
I guarantee likes Singing in the Rain?
Quentin Tarantino. Exactly. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed he likes Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
And it's just something that, like, I don't like people breaking out into song in the middle of a thing. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fine. If you don't like, if a kind of movie isn't your thing, like, yeah, if you don't like David Cronenberg movies, that's fine. Doesn't make any difference, but like, it's very hard to look at the movie and say that's badly done. Like, this isn't valid. Like, yeah, it's just not my thing. It's okay if it's not your thing, but thinking that it's bad because it's not the way, not something that you particularly enjoy is not very well thought through.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, there's something about it. And then there was something interesting about it as well, because, I mean, as I mentioned before, it was like we used to watch, there was a lot of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers films that we watched for some reason, right?
Right.
And whenever a Gene Kelly film would come on, he was like the grittier.
Yeah, he's the working man's dancer. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And by the way, I highly recommend you go back and look at some of these movies again and realize how effing good they were at dancing.
How hard it is to dance like that.
Oh, it's fucking incredible.
That was the visual effects of the time.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Crazy.
Exactly. I love Gene Kelly. Love Gene Kelly.
Gene Kelly's
when they're
so
on
good.
their knees and they're kicking out, where he and the other guy Donan are just doing like whatever the guy's name is.
Stanley
like,
Donen. Yeah.
No, there was the sidekick of his.
Sorry, yeah, the red-haired guy. What's his name?
Yeah, and they were
Donen's
just
the director. Sorry.
They were kicking, and it was just like, that's really hard to do.
That's really fucking hard.
The dancing is so next level.
Yeah.
So next level.
Yeah. Like, I love Rogers and Astaire as well. They're very, very good. But like, this stuff really, there's something about, because I love this. I love American Paris. Like any of this on the town. Like, Kelly is just like a fucking magician.
Did you do New York?
No, that's 78.
No. What am I thinking of?
No, it's the other. It's like on the town.
Him and Sinatra was in it.
Yeah,
like
and
very
the
young
Navy one,
Sinatra.
right? Yeah,
We're in the
Navy
Navy
one.
or
What's
Yeah,
that movie?
We're in the Navy.
Yeah,
no,
because
it's
Anchors Away.
Anchors Away or something
Anchors
like that.
Away.
It's on the town and Anchors Away. Basically the same movie.
Right.
And it's like these movies, like, it's just like the insane fucking skills. And of course, when you read about the production of Singin' in the Rain, like, it was a hard shoot. And because Kelly was, he was a taskmaster.
He co-directed it.
Yeah, he co-directed
and wrote
it,
and produced it.
Yeah, like, he was like, we are going to do this 200 fucking times until it's perfect. You know, and
on the town.
Yeah, on the town.
On the town is great. And I'm just like, wait, that was Cedric Gibbons was the art director on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And on the town is also, go ahead.
Who, and I'm going to share with everybody, Cedric Gibbons. He designed the Oscar.
That's
he
awesome.
Also has a beautiful home. And his nephew is Billy Gibbons.
There you go. That's cool.
Of ZZ Top.
Yeah, that's a great little connection.
That's where he got all his ideas for ZZ Top, is through his uncle Cedric.
That's great. That's super great. And also On the Town and Anchors Away are influences on my favorite dance sequence in any movie in 50 years, which is the swinging dinghy sequence in Hail Caesar.
Oh, yes.
Hey, you're headed out to sea, head as far as we can see. Like, that is one of the funniest, best staged dance sequences of all time, and it owes it all to Anchors Away. So yeah, I love this stuff. But when Debbie, what's her face, Debbie Reynolds said that when they were doing the Good Morning sequence, she was dancing. They did that and redid it until her feet were bleeding into her shoes.
Wow.
To get that shit right, and it shows. Like, these sequences are of the greatest things ever filmed. And so when you look back at Babylon, like, the level of shit you go through to turn out something that is so breezy, you know, like the insanity you go through to turn out something that is just like makes the audience laugh, and then that's it, is just wild. Yeah, Debbie Reynolds in her bleeding shoes doing the 40th take on Good Morning. She's like still got the same smile on her face, still rocking it.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really hard. I'm going to quickly grab something, guys, if that's okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right.
Hold on one second.
I'll switch to Dan and I on the video feed here. But yeah, so this was like, to me, is I love this stuff. Like I love these things, and I love this genre, and I love Gene Kelly, and he's not as swanky and elegant as Fred Astaire. He's a little more stocky, right?
That's what you like about him. He's a physical dude, man. He's like physical, a gymnast,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a little short, looks like, maybe, but somehow he's just like, he's got it's like he just, Fred Astaire doesn't need to try as hard. Gene Kelly just, in order to just make sure it works, he's going to go a little bit more.
He's just going to fucking do it. Exactly. Yeah. And it's like and he makes it, no matter how many times they've done it, he makes it seem so easy. It's insane.
Effortless.
And like, I still look at that bit when he leaps up to the lamppost in the classic Singin' in the Rain sequence.
Right.
I'm like, it just looks like he just floats. He's like, it's almost like he's on wires, and he's not on wires. He just goes boing and then spins around the lamppost. Yeah. And then I saw the trailer for the new Willy Wonka with what's his name? Timothée Chalamet. And no, I like Timothée Chalamet. I don't. This new Wonka is not hitting with me. And when he spins around the lamppost and you can see that he is on wires, I was like, this just makes me feel embarrassed. Like I've seen
like we used to be able to do this without wires.
Exactly.
But at the same time, people died.
Yeah, I know this is the Babylon-ness of it, right? It's just like how hard, how far are you willing to go to get it in the lens?
Yeah,
But
so I think that's what's interesting, right? So if you look at, obviously when we look at Babylon, it's like, oh yeah, what if we shot Singing in the Rain and told you a story, but then left in all the horrible parts?
Yeah, exactly. All the fucking insanity that made this happen.
They do hint at the lie of Hollywood a lot. Yes. No, don't hint. They just pretty much tell you.
Yeah, but they make it funny. They make it sweet.
They make it funny and silly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes. So the plot of Singin' in the Rain, here we go.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. I mean, seriously, you all three of us. Jason, I know, who's like the only one who chats in our chat anymore. Everyone else, there's actually quite a few people listening, but none of them seem to want to chat. But if any of you seen Singing in the Rain before, or not seen Singing in the Rain, because it seems kind of hilarious,
right?
That we need to talk about. But it is a movie that is, like I said, very important. 1952. Somehow it wasn't until recently, like if you'd asked me like when did Singing Rain come out, I would have said 45, right?
Right.
52 seems late.
Yeah, it's true. And the thing is, it does feel like a 50s movie, but not in a shitty way.
Eric, you're muted. I don't hear you.
If you look at the staging at the end sequence, that was so early 50s color palette and design.
Mm-hmm. Like the Gotta Dance bit, right? Gotta Dance is 100%. That is 50s a go-go right there.
Yes. But if you think about that, if you look, okay, so 52, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, what year are we? 2023, right?
Mm-hmm. I heard.
Go back 18 years. That'd be 2005.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. Okay. Singing in the Rain, the jump between Singing in the Rain and Easy Rider is 18 years.
That is crazy.
Crazy.
That's
Think
crazy.
about that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's how much of a gear shift that shit was.
That's how much of time, like how fast that art evolved.
Yeah.
And how, 2005, not much different from today.
No.
Except now we lecture people a lot more on movies.
No doubt. No doubt.
We
Like,
lecture people constantly.
like that's as big. That's as if you went from, I don't know, The Godfather to Avatar 2 in that same. It's just like you just go, what happened?
Right.
Like it's just crazy. It's a crazy, crazy leap. But thanks to the fall of the studios, which is also part of that story.
The fall of the studios is part of that story.
Yeah.
That they were trying to be a cautionary tale, which happened not long after that, and we are right now in a major
are we
studio collapse.
What's funny because I mean, like,
what do you think the first one is? Sorry, you go, Dan.
I was just gonna say it's funny because Martini John's been talking about this for 4 years at least.
Well, we
right?
keep telling people it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Ever since the beginning of our podcast. I mean, it was going to. At some point, we were going to be right.
It was clear that it was on the horizon, but even then, even though we've been saying we could feel it, it's now happening. It's just like, oh shit, it's really happening fast now. Like it's just sudden.
Yeah.
Like once ever that's like Paramount, has 2 more years left in Paramount Plus, blah, 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 the giant actor strikes, everything's fucked. I was like, man, once that domino fell, it starts falling quick.
Do you think they're going to settle by September?
No,
I don't think so. Might be wrong. But
no,
I don't think anyone's pending at all.
The literally,
it's going to go to Christmas.
The producers are not even answering phone calls.
Yeah. Yep. They're hardcore. And
they're not answering phone calls?
No. They're not even if you listen to what the SAG guys are saying, like Fran Drescher. Yes.
Fran Drescher. My God. Bobby Fleckman, the hostess.
So if you look, so there are 2 people. Okay, I want to know, and just humble brag. Well, maybe not so humble.
Yeah.
But there's 2 people that are in the SAG group that you see all the time. This Fran Drescher and this guy named Duncan Irish whatever. He's the COO of SAG, right? Mm-hmm. He's been on my podcast.
Yeah, baby. Nice.
So he in early 2020, he's like one of the last podcasts I did before we went into lockdown, right? I did a thing with him as part of Are Digital Humans Going to Be a Threat to Actors? Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll have you on. He's like, let's talk about it. So he was on the podcast and we talked about it. It was a great episode. Highly recommend you go back to that. But, really, so whenever you see like the SAG people talking, it's Fran Drescher and Duncan.
That's pretty good.
And I was like, Duncan's interesting. He's actually a lawyer by trade.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But who would have thought Fran Drescher?
I love it.
Such a freaking hard ass.
Yeah, she's great. It's funny.
She's
like
a smart chick.
As I've made noise about it, I think that
make some noise, Dan.
Like I think that some of the things they're arguing about are not going to go in their way no matter what. Go their way no matter what. And I think that especially as concerns things like AI. People have to sort of get their heads on straight about that because it's going to change in a different way. So that's my feelings on it. But but it is certainly tipping quickly.
Yeah. So I should note it's actually going to be very easy to go through the plot of Singing in the Rain because we pretty much already covered it in Babylon. They are very similar plots.
Yeah,
but I'm going to go through it.
We can say it very quickly.
We're going to go through it fairly quickly, but also tip on how it's different and why it's different and sort of the interesting parts of it, right? And one of the things I think was interesting about the movie is basically starts off with like, is the big red carpet lie?
Yeah.
Right. And so the carpet is going to be like, oh, we're all sitting here talking about how great this movie is, and the big stars are showing up.
The stars are here, and they're secretly in love.
Right. But no, one of them is not so. Like one of them is, oh, you don't remember this guy, right? And they're like, oh, right. But then Gene Kelly and what's her name?
Debbie Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds, of course. For those of you who don't know, is Carrie Fisher's mother, right? Can you sit properly and put the mic towards you?
1 second, sorry.
There you go.
No.
And so they show up, and they said, "Oh, tell us about the secret of your success." And he's like, "Oh, well, you don't. It's a long story." And then he starts going through it and describing it. And he's describing the story in a very highfalutin, like, "Oh, so well trained, etc.
Right.
We're fabulous."
Well,
and,
of course, we blah blah
well,
blah.
of course,
Right.
I was trained to do this, and dance classes and musicians. And what's showing on the screen as he's doing this is the fact that they were all vaudeville and silliness the whole time. It was not
right.
the
Contradictory editing.
Contradictory editing, as you say, right? And it's him and his buddy that were doing this for a long time. And at which point he met the actress, right, who was on set when he first worked on set. And he started off as a stunt guy, or started off as an extra, and then became a stunt guy because he was willing to smack himself around and do crazy stuff.
Fall downstairs, go fly through
Fall
things.
downstairs and do whatever. And they're like, "Yeah, great, you're hired." And it's like, "You know what? I saw what you did. You can be in the next movie," right? And he tries to talk to the girl who's supposed to be his girlfriend, right? Who's another famous actress.
The star, the glittering star.
It's basically supposed to be Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers type of scenario, right? With this other star. And the whole time while this is all going on she never says anything.
Right.
She's about to say something and he stops her from saying anything and talks, et cetera, right? And so that scenario sort of plays itself out. And then they see the movie. It's a silent movie, 1920s. Again, same plot. And they're like, "That was amazing. Yay." And they come up for their bows, at which point he says something. She tries to say something. He stops her, says something else. I was like, "We should just leave, et cetera, et cetera." Go back off stage. And then she starts talking. And she starts talking like this, and you realize, oh my God, she's got a horrible voice.
Well, and it's like, it's literally like, "Geez, fellas, how come I'm?" And just like, it's so arch and so piercing. She sounds like a cartoon character,
right?
And I do want to say,
you think I'm some kind of a dumb blonde?
I'm just some kind of blonde, right? And this is played, by the way, by this actor named Jean Hagen, and she is fucking hysterical, and she's great in everything you will ever see her in, but you'll only remember her from this. She's also in Asphalt Jungle. She's great in Asphalt Jungle. She's great in what else? Panic in Year Zero and Adam's Rib. She is absolutely terrific. Yeah, and Cruising. My God, when she played the pinball machine, she's terrific. And the person she reminds me of now, when you see this movie, is Mackenzie Davis, who's the star of. She's in 2049, Blade Runner 2049, and she's in Station 11. So if you like Mackenzie Davis, see this. Same personality, same kind of actor. Fantastic.
Yeah, she was very good.
Yeah, very funny.
And very funny, right? So the point is, the studio has been hiding her because there's a persona that she has on screen that does not match her actual persona because of her sort of lower class New Jersey accent or not whatever it is, right? Which is basically the same thing as Babylon, right?
Right.
Same idea. But him and his buddy are still sort of trying to figure things out at this point. Then he tries to escape from the studio, and this is very 1940s, 50s comedy where it's like, trying to get out. And he ends up in Debbie Reynolds' car as he's trying to get to a party, and they have a confrontation. She mocks him. She's like, "Oh my God, you are this famous person," but then mocks him for being a famous person.
Right. And said like, "No interest in this bullshit.
Yeah, I'm a real
Hollywood
actor.
Nonsense.
I'm
blah,
a
blah,
real
blah.
actor. I'm on stage. I say things. I use lines. I actually,
Right. And of course, she is also lying.
She's also lying. Right?
Right.
She's also lying because he ends up going to a party. And it was funny because I was looking at that party and I was like, this is the super tame version of the same party.
Exactly. The dancing girl's popping out of the cake. Yeah.
Because she ends up Debbie Reynolds ends up being a girl that pops out of a cake, which is really funny. Right. Oh, should note, just before she jumped out of a cake, the studio executive shows them the jazz singer, same exact thing that
Same
happened in
plot
Babylon,
point,
right? And says, this is going to be big or it's going to be a gimmick, right? Like Stereo.
You ever noticed, like, I think this was also the start of where they portray heads of studios. They're the ones that just do all the exposition stuff. They're just like, yes,
That's good
we're
point.
out of money and we really got to make this. I just saw my banker. So we got to make this scene
John, the
work.
studio's come.
But I think there's might be an actress out there. Could it be you? I don't know.
It's so true, dude.
Oh.
It's so true.
I'm out of
I gotta say
ideas.
that
What do you
the
have? Because
studio
you're an idea guy.
The studio executive
He
in
died
this
after
movie was the worst actor ever.
Oh,
Like,
He
dude,
died
yeah,
right after that.
Oh, that
good.
guy.
I'm glad he died.
Well, they're all dead, so it doesn't make a difference. We can joke about that now.
Wow.
Was that a terrible thing to say? Was that a terrible thing to say?
It wasn't terrible. It wasn't nice.
He died
but
of his own incompetence. He's such a terrible actor. That's what
He was so bad.
Yeah,
It's like,
he's-
Yeah, he
he's
is definitely
classic
Mr.
bad.
Exhibition. That's for sure.
That's so
you nailed
funny.
it, Eric.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
absolutely true.
It was
There's
so
the character.
strange.
It's
It
like,
was
what are
just
we going
like,
to do about this terrible problem that I'm about to detail?
and I've got 1 week and only $500,000 left.
We've
We've
got
got
to
to
find
make
a
it
girl
happen
right now.
We got
Who
to find
could
a
it
girl that
possibly be?
has a sultry
that's the
voice,
girl.
and we need one guy who can compose and be an orchestra leader.
We'll never find out in time.
Wait a minute, you are?
But sir, shut up. What do you know about
That's
blah, blah,
like
blah?
Bye Bye Birdie. You know, it's like they took all that kind of quick exposition to move
Just
it
dump
along.
it right on the table. Who cares?
Bye Bye Birdie did that kind of crap. It was like, ugh.
No, it's so funny, dude. So funny.
All right.
That's
Instead
good.
of like the silent movie, somebody should just make the exposition movie.
The exposition.
Where all these great
Christopher
actors
Nolan
come.
does that. What are you talking about? Sorry, I love Nolan. I just had to make the joke.
I gotta tell you, my favorite, my funniest exhibition stories is in the Matrix, their first Matrix, right?
Right.
I went to go see that with Karen, and we were, she was watching the whole thing, and she had to really go to the bathroom, and she went, she's like, oh, there was a slow part because action, it's the Matrix. It's like, I gotta go, and so it's a slow part. So she raced down to go to the bathroom, and it was the scene where he explains that everyone's a battery, right?
Yeah,
which
right,
is
right.
like
The key
kind of
scene
like
where it explains the whole thing.
Like it
Right.
tells you why this whole movie is happening, and she comes back, she missed the whole thing. It's like you missed
The
4
thing.
minutes of the most important part of the
Yeah,
exhibition
exactly.
that you needed to know about what the hell is going on.
Okay, you're probably wondering why you woke up in a tub of KY jelly. Let me start. I have to go to the bathroom. Why is everything green?
So anyway, she jumps out of the cake. So at which point he reveals to her that she's been lying the whole time, right? And then she does a number. Now, granted, listen, the dancing is so good.
Oh,
she's
yeah.
so good.
thank you.
It's great. Even when things are supposed to be bad in this movie, they're good.
So
it's
good.
hysterical. Yeah, it's perfect.
So good, right? And he gets really into her. They get into a fight in the party, and there's a big thing going on with them fighting about stuff. But she ends up trying to throw a cake at him,
Mm-hmm.
at which point he dodges out of the way and she throws the cake into his fake girlfriend co-star, right? At which point she hates the girl and is doing everything in her effort to get out of the way of that. So basically what happens now is that he's trying to find her. The co-star hates her, and the other woman is just trying to get away from the situation, right? But at this same time, they decide, no, we need to turn the Jazz Singer was a huge hit. We need to turn the movie we're currently making into a talkie. We're shutting down the studio. We're redoing everything, right?
But who can do this and who can do that?
Right.
It's like we don't have time for that. I'm a studio
By
head.
the way, there's a great number. So the thing that's interesting about Singin' in the Rain is that, or any of the musicals at that time, is they just sort of randomly interrupt stories with musical numbers that are
But have you noticed,
don't even
though,
need to be in there.
loosely connected. It's
Yes.
just like,
But did
you know
you
what's
notice
interesting?
that there was a time where the whole movie, it's like the first act, there was no dancing.
right.
There is no dancing. Well,
There's-
no. There is some dancing
Just
when
on
the vaudeville
vaudeville.
stuff,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But there's no
That vaudeville
numbers.
number with the
was hard to
violins
do.
was amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty
was
cool
hard to
equipment.
do.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. 100%.
Yeah. But no, then there's the cake stuff where she jumps out of the cake and they're all doing stuff, which is a small number.
Mhm.
But then make them laugh. That was
That's the big showstopper for Donald O'Connor. What's his name?
Donald O'Connor, I think his name
Something
is.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
David
make them
Carradine.
laugh. Make them
That's a
laugh.
crazy number.
Yeah, it's been like
I
he's
mean,
done
it's
the wall run. He's like,
bananas. The wall jumping that he does.
and it's like
The wall jumping. That's always been my favorite. That construction scene where they're on set.
Yeah, it's great. And like this is what's really interesting about this scene is that it's not directly related to the plot. It's thematically related to the plot, right? Like it's essentially the theme of the movie, which is like, look at the shit that I do to make you laugh, right? And that is also the theme of Babylon. Like this dance sequence, even though it's not directly, it doesn't motivate anything. It's the thing that sort of says the premise of the film, which is like the fucking extent that we go to put on this show for you is sort of insane. And then you're watching Donald O'Connor like beat the shit out of himself for a comedy song to the point where you're like, are you sure you want to be doing that, dude? Like,
Right.
It's insanity. It's insanity. It makes a big number out of putting himself in danger of breaking his own neck. It's fantastic.
Right. And the stunts that he does, it's just
Yeah.
insane. And a lot of it is in one take. Like it's just kind of it's crazy what he's doing, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah, it's a great
The
bit.
coordination of all that stuff and how they made it all happen. It was just kind of amazing.
Yep.
The make him laugh sequence, I was always like, oh my God. And, just watching it again the other day, I was like, I had kind of incredible. Kind of incredible.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. I don't think it's a
Um,
moment. I don't think there's a song in this movie that I don't love. Every sequence is
Very.
it's pretty much my favorite of all time.
Right. Right. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. But also I should preface that before that whole sequence, it was the exact thing that they did in Babylon, where you had all the different movies being filmed in these little
going through
arcades,
stage
like
after stage
almost
after stage.
exactly just like in
Yep.
Singing in the Rain. So they're
Right.
like did this whole thing where they're like all talking to each other, right? Which is pretty funny.
Right.
So anyway, so that's what happens there, and then where we go? Okay, where was I?
What's the next thing that happens?
Sound. They have to do sound.
Right. And so
Right.
they're worried about like the singing.
The singing.
Right.
Well, no,
double
they're not
it
worried
up.
about the singing. They're just trying
Her
to
voice.
record sound,
Right.
right? So
And
they
change it.
They suddenly change to a sound stage, and they have to record things, and it's the same thing. Like the microphone is here, talking to the microphone. So this, I felt so much sympathy to the guy who's like, the microphone is here, talk
Right.
into it. Because she keeps going left and right, which is exactly what I deal
What I
with
do.
you, Daniel, all the time. Where you're like, I gotta stop. It's like that is exact. So they showcase that in Singing in the Rain. Or, what I should just say is when you start doing that, I'm just going to say Singing in the Rain, and then you need to know just talking to
True.
the microphone.
I'm a Roman.
Well,
That's
the
how it goes.
problem, well, anyway, doesn't matter. Says she doesn't know what the hell's going on, and first of all, she has a terrible voice. Oh, that was another thing that was funny. They did a whole thing. It's like diction people are now being hired in
Big deal.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Moses supposes.
Moses supposes his toes are roses, right?
Moses supposes erroneously. Yep. Yep.
Right.
That's another great dance sequence.
musical
Yep.
sequence. Yeah.
Yep.
So they're
The Moses
learning.
Supposes is good.
Yeah, it's so
Moses
funny.
supposes is a good piece.
Like
too.
that's another beautifully like those two guys in particular work so well together. Like Donald is like he's the B guy, but he's working just as hard as Gene Kelly is, and like you're looking at Kelly, but all the rhyming actions are being done by Donald O'Connor, and it's just like I can't imagine. Like that must have been a week and a half to shoot that shit. Like Because you know that Gene Kelly is not going to let that die. No one's going home until they do that right.
Right. So, so that's the basic thing, that's going on there, is that they're trying to learn how to work with sound. There are many sound fouls that happens. Same thing where the executive walks into the thing. Like there is exact scenes that are happening that are between Babylon and Singing in the Rain.
Did anyone hear a squeaking? A squeaking? Anyone? Oh, there's a pin in her foot. Could you please not move your foot?
Right. I don't remember. Actually, now that you say that, I don't even remember which movie that was from because they were so similar.
That's from Babylon. The director has to sit in the chair.
The other one.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to say something real now. Eric, are you looking at our Twitch stream?
No.
Okay. Go back to our Twitch stream and go back to eating.
Oh, Chris, stop that.
Every time I have to switch cameras because it looks like you're blowing Dan. Like I
don't know what the problem is here. This is entertainment. This is the whole idea. People pay for this. They have subscriptions based on this very thing.
Every time.
Chris, stop.
I'm not stopping. It's hard for me to oh God,
I think
this is going down on Dan.
You really just
again.
need to change the background picture till it's something appropriate for what's happening. That's what you need to do.
And I know, but it's hard.
Put some nice dim lights back here. Yeah, exactly. It's nice and romantic. It's going to be good.
You can always change the start time.
Yeah, exactly. It's 4 in the morning for you.
I could change the start time. You're absolutely right. I could change the start time, but it doesn't. It doesn't matter.
I ate a lot of scrambled eggs and beans before this, so we're lucky that it's going through it all. It's be an entirely different podcast.
Anyway, so we're it's funny, we're talking about difficulties in production. This is exactly what we're dealing with right now. I'm sorry, Eric. I was just trying to make a joke about it. Anyway, so sound problems happen. They look at it and it's a big fiasco. They go to the theaters. They're all in quote unquote disguise as they're watching their first talkie, and they're all laughing at them the same way they were laughing at Brad Pitt in the movie.
Because you can hear every single squeak of the, every time
that was
they move,
actually a great sequence.
Like
the way they did it with how the voices were distorted.
So funny.
Oh, and the pearls.
So
the pearls were also
clattering pearls. Yeah. And his acting is like goofball and everything. Like everything is terrible. Everything is terrible.
Yeah, it's all terrible. Oh, because he says, I want to change the lines like I normally say it on the movie. It's like, okay, sure, change it. And it's like, that sounds terrible. Realizing that lines should be not just improvised on the spot. They should be planned out. Correct.
Yes. Right.
Which I think is also pretty funny. So.
Did Rita Moreno just die?
What?
I don't know.
No. She's, wait.
Sid Charisse?
Sid Charisse, maybe?
Sid Charisse.
Still alive. No, 2008.
There you go.
Sid Charisse died in 2008?
Yeah, I thought Reno.
We're going to talk about Sid Charisse because this is the scene that's behind me right now. That's a Sid Charisse moment. She's
beautiful.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Puerto Rican.
Then this scene is just one of the best dance numbers of all time. It's just incredible.
Yes.
No.
I have problems with it, but I love it at the same time.
Why do you have problems with it?
We'll get into it. We haven't reached that part of the story yet. But there's anyway, so okay, so sound problems, they realize they're being mocked, at which point they have a sort of a tete-a-tete and then about what they should do to make movies better, and they realize music. We need music, right? And they realize we figured it out. Let's make it a musical because that's what we should do, right? And then they was like, we've been talking all night, and they do the Good Morning song, which is another great piece. They're all so huge classic pieces, right?
Yep.
Huge classic pieces in terms of filmmaking. Which
all
is
they do is dream of you. I'm looking up, make them laugh. Moses, fit as a fiddle. Good morning. You are my lucky star.
Right.
Which is used in Alien. That's the song she sings to keep herself calm in Alien. In the end of Alien. You are my lucky star. Yep.
Yep. So, anyway, so they decided they're going to make a musical, and at which point they sort of evolved the whole process about making a musical. Now, what am I trying to remember where they go from there?
They dub it, and then the girl gets angry.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because she can't fucking be recorded.
Right. That's right.
It's horrible.
So they decided they're going to include her in the musical, but because she's so terrible, they're going to use Debbie Reynolds as the voice and have her dub over all of her lines. And it was the first time that they figured out dubbing, like the invention of dubbing kind of happened in this film, right?
Right. And so like the audience will think that it is naturally the lead's voice, but it's actually Debbie Reynolds singing behind the scenes.
Right. And so they do this whole thing, and her singing is beautiful. Debbie Reynolds' singing is beautiful, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. It all happens, and they turn the movie into The Dancing Cavalier.
Yes, right.
So that it's a better film, right?
It's a big hit, right?
And it's a huge
We got to come up with a name, and they scratch their chins.
Oh my God!
Dancing
You're perfect for screenwriting and being head of an orchestra.
That scene, that's the exact scene that I was talking about, of how terrible this stuff is. Like, it's just so bad. Like, it's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, let me arrange to give you a raise. So yeah, it was kind of hilarious. But all right, where were we?
They dub her.
They make the movie. It's a success, right? And then it's like, we just got one more number to do. This is my problem, right? It's like, this is great. We just have one more number to do. And they do the sequence with Sid Charisse that feels completely out of place.
It's a whole different movie. Yeah,
Not only is it a whole different movie,
right?
They show it, and then at the end of it, he's like, the studio executive is like, well, I have trouble of kind of envisioning this. We'll just see it when it's done. Like, what executive would ever say that? Like, I have trouble envisioning your vision, but we'll just see it once it's done.
I'm sure that's great. Don't worry.
I'm sure it's great.
Don't spend a ton of money on this. I mean, it's a huge number.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like an entire story.
It's a ballet.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not as much a dance thing. It is a dance thing, but it's a ballet.
It's a ballet. Right? It's an entire sequence of dances that tell a story about guy going to the big town to try and make it big, whatever it is. Like, entire character arc, et cetera, with dissolves and all sorts of crazy bullshit.
She is such a good dancer.
It's amazing.
Sid Charisse and Gene Kelly is like, you can't get much better than that.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
beautiful. Her moves are perfect. Like, the two of them working together is like
the best. That's the best. The best. There's nothing better. Yep.
It's the best, baby.
Yep.
But the other thing is that those guys who played the heavies in the dance number, they were tossing the coins. And I was like, if that was me, I'd be like, oh, I dropped it. Sorry, let's do a retake.
I'm sure they dropped so many coins on set.
And then they follow them. They're throwing the coins. Like, God, the sweat on these guys' brows, because if they film and then they cover them, so it's one shot, and they're
dance, fuck up the coins.
Oh, I dropped it. Like, oh, we'll fix it in post. No, we can't.
No, you will not.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work. So yeah. The coins, and the guy's scar was really horrible prosthetic, but that's fine.
It's silly. It's very silly.
But pretty much it's this number where it's like the guy who's like coming to town trying to be a big actor signs up with it. This is a whole ballet right away. And it's done as a musical ballet. And he's like, do this thing, falls in love with this woman who happens to also be, tied to the mob, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Does this whole thing. And then does this whole dances with her. She is getting married. He notices her getting married. And then they did this other number where the two of them dance, and her wedding dress turns into this massive veil that's got to be like
unwinding
100 feet long.
Yeah, it's like it's insane. Blowing in the wind. That's just
and they use it as a prop.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's
just
incredible.
yeah. It is like this entire sequence is, I agree, completely disconnected from the actual progression of the film.
Nothing to do with this movie. In
That's
fact,
true.
I'm thinking it's like
to do with this
I
movie.
keep
That's
forgetting
true.
that it's part of Singing in the Rain because it
I
has
always
nothing
think,
to
is
do
this
with the
part of
story.
American Paris? I always think it's part of American Paris. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I
it's
was
great.
thinking. It's part of American in Paris, but it's not.
It's not exactly. It's this whole other part of Singing in the Rain,
Right.
And it's the best number in Singing in the Rain outside of Singing in the Rain. Yeah,
no,
it's
it
like
is by far. Well,
it's like-
first of all, it's the most expensive number for sure.
It's like
Well-
like Singing in the Rain is in competition with it just because the dancing is so great. But this thing by itself is this mega project in the middle of the movie or in the end of the movie, and it's the showstopper. Like it's just incredible, and then you're like, oh, well,
But it's
that was
very
great.
dreamlike.
Yeah,
and
it's gorgeous.
a purpose for that.
And it had nothing to do with the Dancing Cavalier or
Yeah, it's
anything
fine.
to do with Singing in the Rain. It was just like, let's throw in a giant Broadway
Let's make
number.
a great movie greater by making this
Let's
incredible
get
scene.
Sid, baby.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this.
You know what it can do? Get Sid Charisse.
Done.
Call her. I just saw her.
That's it. That's it. But yeah, it's a dynamite number. I agree. It doesn't have anything to do with anything, but who cares? It's fucking amazing.
Listen, I'm saying it's a dynamite number. I'm just like, I keep
Dynamite.
forgetting. It's
All
like,
of a sudden you're
wait,
like a
it's
studio
nothing to do
exec.
with the story.
It's dynamite,
It's
baby.
like towards the end of Star Wars, they had they put on a whole production of Glengarry Glen Ross, and then back to Star Wars. You're like, okay, I mean, it was really good.
Or like at
Yeah,
the
I
end
that.
at the end of Return of the Jedi when they have the dancing with the Ewoks.
Oh, I was just thinking
or
that.
at the beginning of Return of the Jedi when they decided not to have a movie.
I knew I was going to get you that way. I knew I was going to get you
Oof.
that way.
I hate that stuff. The Ewok stuff.
Don't get me going. You know what happens.
The worst part. We don't have that much time left.
Yeah, that's you had to do the beginning of the podcast, so we know.
Yeah. So anyway, so that ends up happening, and then they showed him aired a movie. They premiered a movie. It's great, and she finds out about the actress finds out that Debbie Reynolds has been dubbing her voice. Is very upset about it. It's going to ruin her career, and
She insists on going out and singing in front of everybody.
she insists on going out and singing in front of everyone. And they're like, oh no, this is not good. And they're like realizing they're over a barrel on this one. And they said, oh, we have an idea. How about you go behind the curtain and sing for her?
Right.
Right.
Live. It's a Milli
Live.
Vanilli moment.
And it's the million, right? It's exactly right. At which point, and that's a cruel thing to do. Instead of getting Debbie Reynolds in on the gag, they basically tell her, fuck you, do your job.
Yeah,
No, but
exactly.
they did it
Shut
on
up, woman.
purpose because
Right.
they knew they were already doing that. They were in
I
cahoots
know,
before.
but they could have told her to be in on the gag, and they
They didn't have the time. I noticed that they didn't have the time because they had to go out and quickly. So it was just like,
But they all discussed it within themselves for like 5 seconds before
But
this.
she
whole
wasn't there. And
Ugh.
when she was there, the
What does she
other
need
girl
to know
was there.
thing. Just a lady.
Just a
Right.
dumb girl.
Anyway,
Right.
dumb
No
girl.
problems.
so this is the scene that I put behind Eric, and pretty much she is fake. They turn off the blonde woman's mic, and then Debbie Reynolds is singing in the background, and then they reveal the curtain or raise the curtain, the man behind the curtain, which is Debbie Reynolds, right? So perfect thing, blah blah blah, and they have the whole sequence, and they joke about it, which pretty much reveals that she is a star at the whole time, and then this whole fiasco happens. But anyway, now obviously they fall in love, and they end up making the movie Singing in the Rain.
Mhm. There it is. There it is.
Ba-dum-ba-dum-bum.
Yep, exactly.
Great,
And they end up
Honestly
making the
speak-
movie Babylon.
which end up leading to the movie Babylon. And honestly speaking, I always loved Singing in the Rain. I think there was something really wonderful about it because it was subtly telling a kind of dirty secret about Hollywood.
Yeah, it's great.
It's revealing the man behind the curtain. It's revealing the fact that people's lives are lies. It's telling all these things while making it all fun and jovial.
Yeah, while
and
making the
entertaining.
sort of breeziest,
While doing the
lightest,
same thing
most
they're
fun
talking-
thing.
right.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Breeziest. That is true.
it's so light. I mean, like if it's on, you're just gonna be like, yeah, let's watch this fucking movie. Rocks. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, like it makes you feel
Exactly.
incredible watching this movie.
It's almost like Smokey and the Bandit, but a musical. version.
That's right.
Right?
I agree.
Easy watching.
Yep. And there's
Of course,
nothing
they don't
like,
have CBs that in Singing in the Rain. Imagine like breaker, breaker.
no, exactly. That's a
Oh
good
my
plan.
God.
Yeah.
I would watch Smokey and the Bandit the musical.
No,
Oh,
but I don't know
my
why that
God.
doesn't exist. How does that not exist? They should have done that by now. They're making a musical out of everything else. Carrie,
Well, once everything becomes AI, we could do that.
instantaneously push the
We'll
button.
just
No worries.
Deal with the Reynolds estate.
That's exactly. Fix that in post.
Yeah.
That's that. Well, I don't think they're gonna be opening the Babylon musical anytime soon on Broadway. That people don't even know that happened.
They're probably not going to open the Babylon musical, but I got to say it was,
It's pretty amazing.
I'm sorry that Babylon was not a success. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
I'm sorry that Babylon was not a success, but I'm also super happy that somehow it got made.
I love that it's this weird little movie. I mean, very, very big, very expensive movie that disappeared down the memory hole.
Yeah.
And I think will be rediscovered at some point. Like people will be like, what the fuck is this thing? Do you ever see this Brad Pitt movie? And then find it extremely puzzling and then come to like it. I think that's like, it's so completely, it's on Prime Video for free. And still I'm just like, oh yeah, I might watch Babylon this tomorrow for the show. And people are like, what's Babylon? Just
They
like
probably thought like Babylon
with Margot
5.
Robbie. So yeah.
And
it's
Brad
wild.
Pitt.
And Brad Pitt. Yeah, exactly. It's insane.
And Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, and the best role of his career. That is just incredible.
Yeah, he totally disappeared off the map for me for a while.
Yeah. My favorite Tobey Maguire is still Wonder Boys.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lovely movie and he's great in it. But my second favorite is his creepiest, which is Babylon.
Oh, it's also underrated or not really remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Is his 22nd appearance in Tropic Thunder.
Oh God, yeah. Holy smokes. Yikes.
As the gay monk.
That's true. That's a good
so
one.
good.
That's a good one.
We watched Tropic Thunder recently too, and that was like
masterpiece.
God.
Masterpiece.
That's another movie about movies.
Yeah. An absolute classic. Absolutely. That is now top 3 Robert Downey Jr. performances right there.
Yeah.
You guys. What do you mean you
What
guys?
do you, yeah,
What do you mean
people?
you guys?
What do you mean? Like, oh
The
my
best
God.
was he's like, we're moving on. He's singing the Jeffersons theme song.
Yeah. Oh my God. Moving on up. No, Jesus
Wait a minute.
Christ.
Are you singing?
The Jeffersons? That's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I showed it. So I saw it. We showed it recently at the Brady, and we didn't say anything, and then we'd whole sequence, and he's watching the end sequence, and then comes to the slow realization that Tom Cruise has been in the movie the whole time.
The whole time. Magnificent.
And I was actually duped. Were you guys duped
Yeah.
into like Tom Cruise?
I don't remember. I think I was. Yeah. I think I was.
Yeah, you didn't. I didn't realize it was Tom Cruise until the end.
Yeah. No, it's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incidentally, my love for Tom Cruise has only grown. The new Mission Impossible.
Really?
I like the new Mission Impossible movies. I think they're fun. This movie is fucking terrific. Like
Which
that
one?
is the new
The
Mission
Tom
Impossible
Cruise.
movie is
Did
just
you see it?
great. Oh my God.
Where'd you
It's
see
just-
it?
I saw it movie theater right down the street from us. Look. And it's it is an old school, like almost a Cary Grantish a North by Northwest kind of movie.
Wow.
It's so much fun. It's
I have
insane.
respect for guys people who really love Hollywood.
Yeah,
And I think
this is an
people
old
like
Hollywood
Brad
movie.
Pitt
Yeah,
and
Tom
Tom
Cruise.
Cruise.
Yeah.
And maybe
Harvey
even Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, man. Like I really think that this is the kind of movie when it's one of those things that's like just a flavor of movie that you don't see often anymore. And
No.
it's such a it's everything is a big, super tense build, high drama, slightly ridiculous set piece sequence, and it's not even the action; it's just the editing. There's a car chase in there that blew my mind. It's
really?
it's just insane. It's
I
beautiful.
love the car chase.
the one
and,
in Italy.
Yeah, the one in Italy. I mean, like,
Did you see it, Chris?
No, I saw the trailer.
You see the ad though, but I mean, like it's sort of like I won't ruin anything. However, Eric, the thing that you're going to love is that it's basically Tom Cruise and 4 of the most attractive, hilariously charming women in action movie history, and they're all cooler than him in this film.
Oh, I got
Like, it's unreal. Like, it's such an old Hollywood, sexy, fun thriller. It blew my mind.
It's out now?
It's out now. It's great.
And it's called what?
It's
Mission Impossible?
Mission
What?
Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So there's going to be a Part 2 as well. But even if they never make
Imagine
Part
if
2.
no
this
one's
movie's
ever
incredible.
skipped part 2 and just went to 3.
Just jump it.
Jump it.
Just jump it.
Just be like, screw
Was there
it.
ever a Hot Shots Part 1?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there was Hot Shots and the Hot Shots Part 2. Yeah.
Okay.
However, there was there's a game. I don't know if anyone's, this is a video
Because
game
I only
thing.
know Hot Shots Part 2.
There's a video game called Goat Simulator, which is a
Yes, my
total
daughter's
nonsense
played that.
game. It's very funny. And the sequel to Goat Simulator is Goat Simulator 3.
That's is it really
Which is
beautiful?
just
I love
genius.
these guys.
That was
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah,
That was genius.
that's correct.
But yeah, if you like the Tom Cruise and the women that are in this movie, there's what's her name from Dune plays the Paul's mother, and Rebecca Ferguson, and all like each one of them has a different chemistry with Cruise, and it's all incredibly fun, exciting, and sexy in an old school way that's not like sex oriented, but sort of like high intensity romance drama oriented, and it's unbelievably fun.
Oh, gotta check it out.
Thrilling,
Jason put
thrilling,
Traveling
thrilling.
Wilburys Volume 3.
There you go.
Pretty funny.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrific.
It was interesting. I was, I've been getting back into, speaking of Traveling Wilburys, I've been getting back into Knopfler a lot more and sort of thinking back at some of the stuff. And I was listening a lot to Telegraph Road.
Mm.
Love that album.
Mm.
Yeah, that's
I
Ride
bought
the
that
Lightning.
in Spain, dude. And I had a little cassette of that thing.
Yeah.
That
It's genius.
Oh.
And that song is 14 minutes long and talk about a freaking epic story being told.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and you know that song, It Takes Mind Over Money. That's Private Dancer. He wrote Private
You're
Dancer.
absolutely right.
He
That's
wrote
great.
Private Dancer at the same time, and it
I
sounded too
know.
similar.
Wait, is
Yep.
that part of Telegraph Road or was that making movies?
No, that was part of Telegraph Road.
Oh, it was. Okay.
And
Sorry,
so then
sorry.
he
Yeah.
he gave it to, what's her name?
To
Tina Turner.
Tina Turner.
That the breakdown that you had sent out, the video with the woman who broke down
Brothers in Love.
Brothers in Arms.
Brothers in Arms, yeah.
it really hung with me, not only because it's a great breakdown of a great song, but it's the first time I ever heard someone talk about why returning to the bass note of a scale is such a important thing to leverage in making people feel certain ways in songs.
Yeah.
I was like, that's
so
amazing.
she does a breakdown of Telegraph Road 2.
Mhm.
Did you post it?
I haven't posted it. I can post it on our Discord if you guys want.
Oh, you
But,
just sent it to Dan.
No,
No,
I
it's
can
not
post it
Discord.
on Discord. But
he
it's
post it on Discord? Did I
because the
miss it?
song is 14 minutes long. It takes her a
Mhm.
lot. So
long time.
her video of the breakdown of Telegraph Road takes like 40 minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just so you know, because it's so I mean they did some epic songs. Obviously, you know, Romeo and Juliet is also very famous. It's all that stuff. But
Great one.
Telegraph Road is like the story of an entire town over multiple centuries in a song with a lot of guitar playing.
That's a
Like
lot.
it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
And then
that's a lot.
the piano playing, it's also something that I didn't appreciate as much until I saw her breakdown of it. Like the piano is fabulous in that song as well. So definitely recommend it.
Right.
All right. Well, listen, thank you guys for letting me get through this. And
Yeah,
thank you
lovely.
for letting me force you into
It was a good call, though, I got to say.
Oh, it's perfect double feature.
Babylon Singing in the Rain, right?
Yeah, and
I like Babylon. I did, despite
yeah.
I liked it. I'd
All
watch it again.
of your arguments, both of you guys, all of your arguments against it are completely valid. And I'm not sort of saying that you're right or wrong. I'm just saying that it was a kind of a great experience in that way. And it just made me think about Singing in the Rain and thinking about that experience when I was going through film history class, and that guy who was like, well, I don't understand why people bring in the song. And I just wanted to grab that guy by the collar and just like smack him around.
I swear, half of film Twitter.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I think
that
I'd
guy's
go
multiple
nuts.
blood.
It would consume me.
Ugly.
It-
But yeah,
listen,
no, I mean, I would say that for people that are listening, you probably have not seen Babylon. Like Babylon will likely be a bumpy ride, but I think it is absolutely worth it to hang in. I liked it,
It is
even
a
more
visual
by talking about
spectacle. It's a visual spectacle,
Yeah.
though.
it. It's gorgeous the whole time. It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
But it is it's a strange movie, and if
Nothing
you
wrong
hang
with
on, I think it's worthwhile. It really it definitely.
Now
Nothing wrong with
we've
Strange.
introduced strange movies before, like Bad Boy Bubby. It's not Bad Boy Bubby.
it's not like that. It's not like
Not
that.
like that.
That's you got to that's like e-ticket ride.
Yeah,
That's heavy duty. Sure.
that's heavy duty. So
This
it's
is not
definitely
like that. This is just different than what you may want.
right.
Out
But
of a
it
Brad-
is
a
a
Brad
story
Pitt
about
movie.
Hollywood, and a story that I think he felt need to be said somehow.
Mm-hmm. I agree. No, that was
And all the
definitely
references
unique.
you guys were picking up references that I was like, oh right, that's right. Boogie Nights and this and
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Oh, and by the way, in a totally positive note about Barbie, I want to point out that there are so many excellent, very obscure film references in Barbie that I was
Right.
I shouldn't be shocked as Greta Gerwig. But the one that I want someone to confirm for me is I think that the executive's office design is a weird reference to El Topo. So if anyone can confirm that, if the Jodorowsky movie, I want someone to look into that if they happen to catch it. I was just like, wait a second, is that or I'm not El Topo? I'm sorry, Jodorowsky.
Tempopo?
No, it's not El Topo. It's hang on for a second, Jodorowsky. Holy Mountain. Sorry, Holy Mountain. I swear to God, the wall design.
It's like
is,
Chicago meets cruising, baby.
is Holy Mountain. And I was just like, all right, I may have issues, but anyone who references Holy Mountain in the middle of their Barbie movie is a hero.
Is this because of the matte painting that
The
happens behind him?
executives didn't know
the executive's
doodly-doo.
wall. It's sort of like the colors and the sort of rainbow shape that they have looks
They
very
didn't
similar to a thing in
understand
Holy
any of
Mountain.
that. They
It
wouldn't.
was, yeah, it was real. I was like, I may be
Anything
wrong,
get
maybe,
past them.
but she is referencing a bunch of really profound, obscure shit. I love Greta Gerwig, and I may have mixed feelings on that movie, but she is a hell of a filmmaker, and I really enjoyed that part.
I'm just glad movies like that got made
Absolutely.
somehow, and they did not get completely destroyed, because that could have been Godzilla destroyed.
Oh yeah, it could easily. Oh god,
You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh god, yeah, yeah. Definitely. I mean,
That's
like
good.
to very quickly sum up my disappointments are I love Greta Gerwig so much, and she is such a powerful filmmaker that I was hoping for something even more, and I was let down by that. But I could be Godzilla bad, and you're absolutely right. If she had not been at the helm, it would have been like, why did you
Trolls.
fucking
It would have been
do
Trolls
this?
3.
Yeah, Trolls 3. Exactly. So
That
yes,
Trolls film
100%.
looks terrible.
I couldn't believe how long the ad was. I was like,
Just shut up.
stop. Stop.
Now I want to see that.
You're going to see it when you
Jesus.
see Barbie. It's going to come up as a trailer.
It's most of your time at the theater at Barbie. It's Trolls.
It's
the Trolls
painful
ad.
to watch that trailer.
I couldn't believe it.
How long were the trailers for your
Oh,
film?
forever. 40
It was
minutes.
forever. At least,
That's
yeah.
so crazy.
It was definitely over half an hour for sure. Couldn't believe how
That's
fucking
nuts,
long that
dude.
was. That was awful. Absolutely.
They-
I
awful.
don't
that.
remember a trailer that I was actually excited about when I
None.
watched it.
That was I think I was just like, because they're going to move. They're probably moving things like Dune 2 because of the strike. They're going to move it to 2024.
That's right.
So I was just like, the desert may have begun. We may have nothing. We may have nothing to look forward to for the whole year.
Except for sand.
So
the same-
that's you saying
That's
that
right.
it's not going to be resolved in a month.
That's why I think it won't
Oh,
be
I don't think it's
resolved
going
in a
to be like they're so far out of touch with each other that there's no way they
would
can
be a
go,
miracle.
okay, we're done. Like,
month. It would be a
no,
miracle.
each one of them is going to be angry at each other. They're like, there's like, the producers aren't, unless the producers say, okay, we'll give up 25% of our salary to make
I
sure.
think they're going to
they're
bring
never
in-
going to say that.
Here's
Never.
my prediction. I think they're going to bring in Barry Diller, who's going to be like a Lou Wasserman, and he's going to make all sides agree.
I'd be amazed.
That would
Let's
be
see it.
very
Let's do it.
optimistic.
I think they have a better chance of bringing in Phyllis Diller. But yeah, I think you're right. That's
Barry
my-
Diller is
yeah.
going to get in and act as a mediator between all of them and try to
Something
make
better
shit
happen.
happen.
Because the longer it goes, the more enmity there is between the sides.
That's right.
It's not going to be resolvable.
It's going to be like Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is going to have
It's going to be a special presentation on Netflix live.
In his garage.
In his garage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tom
Now,
Hanks
these are the
and Steven
recyclables,
Spielberg
and then here-
pleading with the actors, please get back to work.
Exactly. It's signing, like they're at a table signing things with Zendaya.
Yeah.
That's the only way this is going to work out. Oscars 2024. That's what we look forward to.
Maybe it's Brad Pitt. Maybe Brad Pitt will save Hollywood.
But guys, if it
please,
goes
please,
that
Brad.
way, some studios are really going to just disappear. Netflix will be in trouble.
Well, I'm a radical anarchist, and I hope the
I know
studios
we're
get
going a
down.
little long, but I'm going to say it's very interesting. I heard a very interesting dissection of all this things. Like the whole freaking Hollywood system was turned around through streaming. We already know about this, right? But what really happened is Netflix said, we have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they were giving a shit ton of money to random people to make crazy stuff like the sequence of Lord of the Rings or whatever. And they were giving these people $100 million.
Meghan Markle and her husband, they gave them a shit ton of money.
Right. All of this stuff was happening. And they're like, oh shit. And then when Netflix did it and they realized everything's moving to streaming, all the studios started doing it. At which point, and they thought Netflix has infinite amount of money. Turns out Netflix does not have infinite amount of money.
Leverage.
Netflix said, pump the brakes, buddy. We don't have infinite amount of money. At which point the whole studio is like, oh shit, we just changed our entire model
That's
to
right.
be infinite amount of
nothing.
money, and we don't
I never
have it.
understood why Paramount got in the game.
Well, whatever,
bad.
right? And
Yep.
so everything
there's no
got
need for it.
disrupted. No one was making any money. They basically, the only way they were going to stop this fiasco from happening is stopping all residuals, because they thought they could get away with that bullshit, which they can't, right?
Nope.
And then that turned into a disaster. And now all their contracts are up and they're like, no, we're not doing this. We can't do this shit anymore. And it's a disaster. Here, by the way, I also heard the other thing is like all these contracts, their residuals are all supposed to go up by a big margin on the third season of a show, which is why Netflix cancels all these shows after two
Are you
seasons.
serious?
Yes.
Snip. That's it.
Yeah, because they're not going to make enough money on it because the residuals are going up too high. Their profit margins go really low. And so they're like, fuck it, eject.
Yep.
So
that's
all
that.
these shows are not
That's
being canceled
insidious,
because
dude.
they're bad.
They're not
after
thinking
two
of the
seasons.
people who want the material. They're just,
Nope.
that's horrible.
Nope. It's just imploding. It's just imploding.
Right.
It's like that's what's
crazy
once
shit.
the cake starts to fall, man. Get it. Get it
Now,
out of the
here's
oven.
the other thing. So we put out a video, as if you guys follow us very closely, as some of you do, we put out a video about as a reaction to the AI and how we need to react, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've been listening to a lot about it, especially on the technology side of things. And what we said is absolutely correct in a lot of ways in terms of how the creatives need to think about AI tools. However, that is not exactly the problem that they're negotiating with right now. The problem that they're negotiating with is that the studio executives still want to use the writers to fix the AI shit that's
Of
happening.
course. There's no
But
way around it.
The writers get way more money if they came up with the story. So they're hoping that the AI comes up with the story, removes that part of the problem from
To
the
keep
writers,
the money out
and
of
then
the
they
writers'
just pay them
hands.
$100 a day to fix AI's crap.
Yep.
Right. So
Nope.
the executives think that the AI is going to come up with the story. It's going to be crap, but the writers will fix it, but we'll pay them way less to fix it than for them to come up with a story to begin with.
Yep. That's not going to happen.
No. Right?
That's not going to work. That's not going to work.
It's
Nope,
not
nope,
going to
nope.
work really.
Yep.
Right. So,
I
I
heard
mean, it will
that-
work. It will work for Trolls 3, but no one's going to go see Trolls 3 anymore.
That's though. This is what we bring to the video is like we have to like depend upon the audience thinking when something sucks, they won't watch it. Like they're not going to like, sure, there's plenty of shit shows that are hits, but largely speaking, if something goes wrong, they stop watching.
No
it.
one saw Indiana Jones 5. No
Yeah.
one saw,
Did you guys
Depend on people having some taste.
Go ahead, Eric.
Did you hear that there is some deal that we're talking about with SAG is that extras who are working can just work one day, but their likeness could be used as digital extras.
Yes.
Yeah,
So I saw that. Okay.
Yep.
So I brought this up and this came up in part of the conversation. What they're basically trying to do, and you're correct, is they're going to find a way to get the extras to volunteer to scan themselves, at which point they're going to take the scans and then use them indefinitely for digital extras.
That's insane.
Yep.
Right? So let's talk about, I'm sorry, I was going real long, but I'm going to talk about this real quick. Let's talk about copyright. A lot of people don't necessarily realize what copyright is. It's literally the right to copy something, right? You've made a book, you copied the book, you violated the copyright, right? Or you memorized the book, you have something that looks like the book. It's like, this is similar enough to the copy of the book, you violated the copyright. Very similar things. Now, the way I look, I can't copy that unless it's DNA, right?
Right.
So you can't actually copyright my look in that way. However, if I made a digital scan of myself, I could copyright that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's what all the actors you were saying are doing.
yes. So there's a company I've heard about that's working with someone we all know very closely, which I'm not sure I'm at liberty to say out loud yet. But that company is making it very easy for people to get themselves scanned and then copyright their digital selves, so that if someone tries to make a digital version of themselves, they would be violating the copyright of that digital version, which is it's
not a super duper high res. It's just enough to be called a copy.
It's enough to say that my digital likeness is worth.
That's right.
It could be high res. It doesn't matter, honestly speaking.
Yeah, you just want to get it done.
Right. I can make a deep fake of myself and say that's a copyright.
Well, and what's going to end up happening, right, is that that the studios are going to be interested in creating personalities that are not actual people. Like you can go to thisisnotaperson.com and generate a face. Say I'm just and creating a face.
Max Headroom.
Right, Max Headroom it. And they're going to want to create a character that is a combination of this person's, this performance and this performance.
A little bit of Chris, a little bit of Eric, and the beard of Dan.
Copyright this is a character, and then the character is acting in films. That's going to be the next step. They don't want to have to deal with people paying people. They don't have to deal with paying people. That's how it goes.
They don't want to have to deal with listen, I am sure the people who made this Seinfeld and Friends deal don't like the fact that every time that freaking episode pays, they have to pay a shit ton of money to a lot of people.
Yep. That's right.
Right? Those guys are making money indefinitely.
So this is
and they don't want that, right? There's a famous story about the person who's part of Orange is the New Black. She was in season 3 or whatever the hell it was. And that person apparently is she was a major character, and they thought it was this is a major actor. And apparently still has to work at freaking Starbucks because they're making $25 a year on Orange is the New Black.
That's fucking insane. That's insane. And
right?
The thing is, and this also quotes her video, but it's just the thing is that all of this stuff, every aspect of it is in your control, all of it. Having to go through the studios to do any of this stuff makes no sense to me whatsoever anymore. Why? You're just involving middlemen for rights that they don't fucking do anything. None of these people do anything.
Well, wasn't that sort of I hate the Web3 aspect of the big move that was happening a year ago was let's get rid of the middleman. That was the whole reason why people want to do NFTs for movies, right? It's screw the middleman, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to work. People still go
Chris,
to AMC and buy the popcorn and do the whole thing, right?
The technology behind blockchain and Web3, once it gets democratized, across, that is the technology that's going to work for the artist side. 100%. People are going to retain their rights and their work
if people
and sell
adapt to this. Right now, we're going through a crypto winter where people don't want to have anything to do with blockchain.
Right.
And
it's been sour.
No. You can't say that. I'm working with a company. Every finance company, every company, all you have to do is go online, are integrating into blockchain. So that's not true. Everybody is merging towards blockchain. Maybe they're not doing NFTs, but blockchain and what's behind it is
that's fair.
100%.
That's absolutely fair, Eric. That's absolutely fair.
That's just the technology.
But I'm just saying about like, if I go to the AMC theater right now and I say, would you watch a movie through a blockchain NFT system? They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Give me my popcorn. I'll pay my $20 to AMC theater to sit in a comfy chair.
The confusion is, just to clarify, as a creator, what Dan said, you make it yourself, retaining those rights and doing the distribution that way.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
Yeah, but that's getting rid of the agent or whatever Dan just said.
Right. Like there's you like right now, like you do need people, like it's like video games. Like video games still need like publishers and stuff like this.
That's right.
Right. That there still needs to be a certain amount of middlemen to deliver to the very, like to get the money together to deliver to the very high visibility things like theaters, right? But the amount of middlemen in between a creator and the theater now is in the tens of thousands. And it's just insane. It's insane. Like none of that is needed whatsoever. As like the chances of any of us writing a screenplay that turns into Mission Impossible 10 are near zero.
That's right.
Right. So don't even go after that. Like make stuff yourself that gets its own following. You put up on platforms that you can afford. It develops a following itself. You get famous from that. Then the studios will come to you. And then you have the leverage.
Or you make a graphic novel.
Or you make a graphic novel or whatever it is.
I know Chris wants to cut this short, but I've recently, in the past 4 months, been working with this company. I designed an interface for their trading platform. It's been really rewarding, really hard. But all I do is sit in meetings. They have designed a system that essentially, for a certain trading platform, I signed a lot of NDAs, gets rid of...
Don't say anything about the NDA.
No. It gets rid of so many middlemen. Many companies are I'm just talking about the financial sector side, are coming up with ways to get rid of blocks of people.
Right.
And that's the mentality everybody's in. So certainly Hollywood is the same thing. Get rid of those steps.
Yeah.
What their thing is if it took, 5 things or steps in order to do a trade, they're going to do it in 3. And if it was 50 cents on the dollar you make 93 cents on the dollar now.
Right.
Which is any investor's like, I'm in. But the people who are blocking it are the people associated with the middle part.
Right. Can I ask a question? There is an assumption that people have that they'll eventually figure out a way to settle and they're going to go back to making another episode of, Curb Your Enthusiasm or Friends or whatever, right? What if that doesn't happen? What if it never happens?
Another episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Or Dune or Star Wars or any... they assume that eventually they're going to figure it out and they're going to go back to doing that. What if that doesn't happen? What if the actors say, we're never going back to Paramount, Warner Brothers... Good. Netflix, any of it. What if they say, we're never going to do that again?
You don't have to
let me just tell you, there are a lot of... The people that lose their jobs or are working for Paramount will go ahead and do something, start a new company. Just a quick thing. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was pitching something that I had written, and I went to CAA, and by June, everybody was locked down and closed. Mm-hmm. The 5 people that were in my meeting, 4 had left, and they all started. 2 went to the same company. And so it's 3 new companies. They decided to go on their own. Right. Smaller and leaner and the way they saw the future going.
And I
was like, are you kidding me? Like out of that meeting, the 5 executives by June, and I did this in February, they were gone. They started their own companies.
Right. So like they're
doing that.
Right. This is what technology empowers you to do right now. Right. And so like what my opinion is when I'm talking to the actors or the writers or any of this stuff, like embrace the technology that's right in front of your face, get good at it, and fuck these guys. Why are you going to them to ask them
Fuck
for
the
anything?
gatekeepers is my thing.
Like, you don't need to talk to
You
them
don't
for
need them
anything.
anymore.
You are the value.
All
That's
they're
it.
going to make you do is do Trolls 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck them.
Like,
But the truthful is the ones that are left behind, by the way, I'm going to just say CAA. In that meeting, I isolated like 3 guys who got my project so well and were so bright. And I was like, God, these guys are dynamic. They're the ones that left.
Okay. I'm going to say one.
But just quickly,
Yes.
it's the morons that are left behind in the old power structure, and then the new one rises up.
I'm going to say one last story because it's a great story, but I want to wrap it up. But it's
Is there
just
a
going to be a
beginning,
story
middle, and
about
end?
you and me, Eric. When I first met Eric 22 years ago, I believe it was, we were working. I was working at Gensler, right? And I was we had to make an animation for this new building that was big. Hold on, let me finish this.
The same fucking thing.
Yeah, and we were working on this building, and it was for 2000 Avenue to Stars, and it was a spec office building. We didn't know who the client was going to be at the time, but it was going to be this very, very expensive office building that was going to be built. And we decided, it was like, okay, Gene Watanabe was the main designer behind it. He was over at Gensler. And we were like working on this thing, right? And so Eric, I hired him as someone who's like can do all this crazy animation stuff, and he did a fantastic job of helping me. It was the start of my friendship with Eric, long time ago. That building is the CAA headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
That building is also majorly featured in Barbie as the building where the patriarchy starts.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yes.
Rightly so.
It is a building of this is Hollywood. It's all about the patriarchy, and it is a theme to Barbie.
I heard they're moving out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I
They
heard
are moving out, yes. But it was like it's
because
somehow
it was too
like
expensive to rent.
I don't know what the problem
I
is,
can
but the
only
point
imagine
being
how
is like
expensive that is.
you and I, our friendship started around making animations of this building, and somehow it became the symbolism of Hollywood, also the symbolism of those meetings that you had, because it was part of CAA, and a symbolism of Barbie, which is about what's fucking wrong with Hollywood.
I can totally tell you that taking a meeting at CAA, right? The experience is like going to it's going to an airport when you go to the main lobby. Right?
And that glass, so much refraction, so much refraction.
Yeah, right. And like the entire thing is designed to make you feel like a crumb. Like it's made to make you feel like, look at how powerful we are. You are worth nothing. We will mine your value and throw you
You know
out.
what else? When I'm there, it reminds me of is when I look out the window. It reminds me of 9/11 because those buildings across were designed by the same architect.
Same
Oh, yeah,
architect.
yeah. Right,
They're triangle
right. And so-
versions of the Empire State
And it
Building.
was actually the preliminary test before doing the big
Yes,
ones.
it was the beta version of the Twin Towers.
That's right. And I see it and it just brings back like 9/11 because it looks exactly the same. I'm like,
It
oh
is.
God.
It's the same one. And it's interesting because the reason that he makes those windows so narrow is
it's tense
because
in
he
the
actually had a
in the
fear
center.
of heights. So he didn't want to have big wide windows and
Tiny
he
little windows like this.
Yeah. So he had the
Right.
windows narrow so
Is
he
it a
could feel like he could
Japanese
hold on.
designer?
Right.
Architect?
I forgot. He's a Asian American guy, I think. I don't remember. But anyway, just tie it around like how you and I started and CAA and all that stuff. Like that was a big deal for me. And I still remember like when I think of anything that's done, and there's a lot of movies that are shot in that lobby of the CAA building.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. But I remember you and I, Eric, working on those renders before that building was done, trying to make that thing look good. And you created all those animations and those fly-throughs and stuff. And so you and I worked on that for a few months, and it was like a great experience and the start of a great friendships, and eventually led to us sitting right here talking about Singin' in the Rain, Babylon.
CAA.
That's right.
Yeah. So I thank you for that.
How long did we go? I thank you. How long did we go tonight?
Longer than normal, although Mr. Thrawn did show up a few minutes late because I believe he was probably trying to finish watching Babylon before.
Babylon's a very long film.
You lied. I knew
Yeah,
you
I
were.
knew it was. I knew he was fucking cheating on this.
I can't
You
say.
almost
What a
scrunched it.
bastard.
You almost scrunched it.
Okay, so like it's not that I wasn't late because I was still watching Babylon, but
you guys
everything
are
was
like-
pushed forward because Babylon was so long, and that made it a
And
little more
you
cramped.
saw that I kept
Right.
calling you.
Yes, no,
and
I
you
saw
ignored
it.
me.
I wasn't ignoring you. I was trying to plug in my shit so I could get online.
You should have at least told
Yep.
me.
No, I
we
was.
thought
I'm
you
not saying
died.
I didn't.
We thought
no,
you died.
I'm
We
not
thought
saying
you
I didn't
died.
mess
We were
up.
very concerned. What happened?
I'm just saying there was a very long
Is
movie.
it, it's cancer. I think he has cancer. He has
He's
cancer.
dead. He got instant cancer and died. That's what happened.
Okay.
He saw Oppenheimer and he's dead. That makes sense.
All right. Well, listen, guys, this is a good thing. I honestly, these two films are very, very, very Martini Giant films. So,
Oh yeah, totally love it.
good.
Love it. Great
But
experience.
we'll probably see if we can plug in another one next week. I know it's been a while since we've done a watch party, but we gotta replenish the coffers in terms of actual podcasts. So we'll see what we can do from here. But
Love it.
glad you guys can enjoy it. I'm just gonna wrap it up. I know this has gone long, but are you guys ready?
Yes.
Drink.
Talk.
Drink.